Chapter 980. The only way was to use another method to temporarily transfer the puppet. Su Yu's right eye flashed with red light, and a wine-red flying dragon could be vaguely seen hovering. Space vortex. With a soft shout, a huge rotating space vortex appeared behind the giant puppet. The enormous suction force pulled the 100-feet-tall giant into the center. The giant seemed to sense the danger. It inserted its hands 3 feet into the ground and stabilized its entire body, trying to offset the sucking force of the space vortex. At that moment, the giant was on the verge of self-destruction. Seeing that they were doomed, Su Yu flicked his sleeves, and several silver balls flew out like bullets. With a series of silver afterimages, they bombarded the body of the giant puppet. The surface of the puppet, which even Gu Taishu could not shake, was dented by the 8 balls. When the last ball, which was half blue and half yellow, bombarded the surface of the puppet, the giant could not stand it anymore. Its body was blown away and fell into the space vortex behind it. Boom! At that moment the giant self-destructed. A terrifying explosion rippled through the air. The whole secret realm was shaking wildly, and there were space fluctuations everywhere, as if the secret realm was about to collapse. Buzz, 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 countless space powers descended and enveloped everyone. The secret realm sensed that everyone was in danger, and at the same time, it activated the space power to transport them away. Su Yu's heart skipped a beat, and the few balls he had thrown out were collected at the same time. When he was about to leave, he suddenly found that the moment the space vortex closed, a wave of residual explosion waves rushed out with a large number of puppet fragments. Su Yu's eyes flashed, and he grabbed the puppet fragments. This was where the puppet's head was, and the material was very special. After touching it, Su Yu confirmed that it was the same material as the silver puppet he had obtained in the mysterious Heavenly Divine Pavilion. Who is secretly manipulating the puppet? Su Yu thought to himself. However, he obviously did not need to worry about this matter. Mo Tianxian and the true man of the purple cloud were more concerned about it, so it was better to leave it to them. As he was about to put them away, Su Yu suddenly sensed that there were several vital energies hidden inside the puppet. Subconsciously, he opened the fragments and was shocked to see that there were 8 whiffs of purple cloud vital energy. With the strength of the giant puppet, it took half a day to seize 8 whiffs of vital energy. It must have been holding back. Otherwise, no one except Gu Taishu could have stopped it. Su Yu's eyes heated up. Without hesitation, he withdrew the purple cloud vital energy and infused it into the top of his head. As such, the purple illusory crown on his head became extremely solid. A total of 12 streams of purple cloud vital energy could form a crown. Right at this moment, spatial energy descended and teleported all of them away. The instant they were teleported to the outside world, a loud rumble resounded beneath their feet. Dark and terrifying spatial cracks that could be seen with the naked eye burst forth everywhere, engulfing the purple cloud secret realm. This continued for an entire 10 minutes. When the turbulence in the secret realm dispersed, the entire violet cloud secret realm had been completely destroyed, and all the formations set up had vanished without a trace. The true man of the purple cloud's face darkened, and most of the elders of the Purple Cloud Palace did not look too good either. The setup of the Purple Cloud secret realm required several years of the sect's financial, material, and manpower. Now that it was deliberately destroyed by someone, how could they not be furious? But at the same time, they rejoiced and felt surprised in their hearts. According to their estimations, not to mention the entire secret realm, even the Purple Cloud Palace would be razed to the ground in the explosion. The casualties would be immeasurable. But now, only the secret realm was destroyed, and that was already a blessing in disguise. The question was, what happened later? Gu Taishu had given up on destroying the puppets, so why did the explosion decrease to such a degree? The leaders of the various factions were secretly questioning the disciples of the factions. After the great battle, the dense fog had dissipated completely, and many of the disciples' eyesight was no longer restricted. They could see dozens of miles in a single glance. Therefore, at the last moment, how could they not know? When they learned that it was a mysterious man wearing a silver mask from the Red Blood Palace who used spatial energy and a powerful pearl, they were all shocked. The true man of the purple cloud raised his eyebrows and looked at Su Yuxian from afar, sizing him up seriously for the first time. In fact, among the participants there were many who wore masks, but Su Yu was the only one whom the true man of the purple cloud wanted to see. He stared at him, as if trying to see through the silver mask. What surprised him was that this mask was no ordinary item. What he saw was nothingness. A space attribute mask? The true man of the purple cloud stepped forward and fixed his eyes on Su Yu. A space attribute mask was not common, at least not something a ninth-grade fairy disciple could afford. Swish! But at that moment, a beautiful figure in a black dress teleported over and stood between the two of them. True man of the purple cloud, if you look at my disciple like that, he'll be shy. Emo Tianxian had a faint smile on her face. Su Yu's technique just now was not too surprising to her. She had known about the ancient space spiritual body for a long time, and it did not seem to be a problem for him to use a mysterious technique like the space vortex. The only problem was that the last 9 round pearls were of unknown origin. However, they were Su Yu's personal treasures, so it was understandable that she had never heard of them. Seeing the true man's stance, Emo Tianxian was certainly going to attack. The true man was not in a hurry even though he was stopped. He smiled and said, "Palace Master Emo, you've misunderstood me. I'm just curious if he is the world-famous Master Su." The world knew Su Yu best because of the Mu words. During the sacrifice at the desolate evil jungle, he had single-handedly fought all the experts of the Heavenly Knife region, defeated all his enemies, and reclaimed the territory they had lost 10 years ago. Of course, in the aftermath, although the news about Su Yu revealing the hidden ancient space spiritual body in the battle at the Sidu family was deliberately concealed, it could not escape the ears and eyes of those with ulterior motives. Exactly. Does the true man have a problem with that? Emo Tianxian said, inexplicably proud. Gu Taishu had always claimed to be the #1 expert of the younger generation in the blessed and heavenly lands. However, when the Purple Cloud Palace was in a crisis of life and death, the rescuer was a disciple from the Red Blood Palace, not the world-famous Gu Taishu. The puppet that he could not handle was easily handled by the Red Blood Palace. Was there anything more honorable than this? The true man of the purple cloud was embarrassed. He said, "Congratulations on having such a disciple. He is proficient in the Mu words and has the ancient space spiritual body. It's hard for you not to be envious." He was quite honest. "Master Su, thank you for your help in resolving the crisis of our faction." The true man cupped his fists in respect. Given his status as a true man, he was quite sincere. "Here is a small token of my gratitude. I hope you will accept it, Master Su." The true man took out a crystal-wrapped congealed fat from his sleeve. The congealed fat came from a long time ago. It did not seem like an object from 100 years ago. Instead, it seemed like an object that had been sealed in the crystal many years ago. The congealed fat contained a mysterious energy. It gave off an unusually comfortable feeling even through the crystal. Su Yu even had a vague feeling that he was showing signs of breaking through to the almighty level. Before Su Yu could take it, Emo Tianxuan's face darkened. "What do you mean, true man? Are you trying to embarrass me by giving me this thing?" Chapter 981. At this moment, Gongsun Wuxia, who was beside him, secretly transmitted her voice to him. "Big brother Yuxian, that's a good thing, take it quickly. That's congealed fat from ancient times. After some powerful demonic beasts died, they would be wrapped up in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Their bodies would wither away, but their quintessence would be wrapped up in the spiritual energy. As time passed, the spiritual energy would become denser and denser, eventually forming into crystals that would purify the demonic beast. This congealed fat is the purest form of energy. Not only humans, but any living creature can directly absorb it. It's extremely beneficial for breaking through bottlenecks. Looking at its size, it contains at least the energy of an all creations stage 1 demonic beast. After you swallow it, you'll definitely be able to break through to the almighty level. There were 2 requirements to becoming a god lord. The first was soul energy. Most people were limited to this threshold, unable to step into the divine master realm. The second was the power of true chi. As long as the dantian expanded to the limit and reached a realm where it could no longer accommodate, the dantian would undergo a drastic change and evolve into a fetal crystal. Suyu had already achieved the former, and only the latter was left. However, Suyu possessed 10% of the Central Prefecture's king's mortal fairy's strength. Moreover, it had been purified by the tree god's leaf, which was comparable to Ningji's energy. Although the cream in front of him was precious, it was not very important to Suyu. However, Suyu understood where Emo Tianxuan's anger came from. The Red Blood Palace's outstanding disciples were stuck at the level 9 fairy realm's bottleneck. They couldn't get any rewards, but the Purple Cloud Palace helped them. In the eyes of outsiders, wouldn't it seem like the Red Blood Palace's outstanding disciples had been reduced to the point where other factions had to help them? Upon understanding this, Suyu could not help but laugh. The true man of the Purple Cloud smiled as usual. Palace Lord Emo, you're wrong. Master Su has done a great favor for the Purple Cloud Palace, and what he needs most now is the elixir that can help him break through to the almighty level. This is also the greatest favor that the Purple Cloud Palace can repay. I hope that Palace Lord Emo will not stop us. When he finished speaking, he extended his hand and passed the crystal cream to Suyu. Suyu smiled. He didn't take Emo Tianxuan's warning look seriously at all. He accepted it calmly. Thank you, Zhenren. Emo Tianxian was annoyed and thought to herself, does this guy intend to embarrass me in front of outsiders? The pride that she had felt earlier instantly vanished into thin air. Emo Tianxian gritted her teeth and revealed a faint smile. Suyuxian, you've made a great contribution this time. Not only did you save my Red Blood Palace's students, but you also saved many of the faction's disciples here. You even saved the Purple Cloud Palace's main gate. You should be rewarded handsomely. I will bestow you with 1,000,000 merit points. Also, Emo Tianxian took out a fiery red hairpin and handed it to Suyu. This is the hairpin that I carry with me all the time. It has a magical power in it. Take it, it can be considered a life-saving item. Suyu nodded. The true man of the Purple Cloud was slightly surprised by this. How could this hairpin be a simple accessory? There were traces of him being instilled with the all creation's mighty force for a long period of time. Intuitively, once this hairpin exploded, it would be able to unleash at least the destructive power of all creation's stage 3, which was comparable to the self-destruction of the puppet just now. The true man of the Purple Cloud could not help but click his tongue when he handed such a dangerous item to a disciple. Emo Tianxian was really going all out in order to get back at him. Of course, there were also people who revealed astonished expressions. The hairpin had a special meaning for a woman. As a single woman, it was inappropriate for Emo Tianxian to give her hairpin to another man. That was the logic behind it, but would anyone dare to question it? Haha, Palace Mistress Emo cares for me so much. It's my honor, the true man of the Purple Cloud said. He glanced at the disheveled secret realm, then at the 200 or so students. He said, the Fengyan Great Meet can no longer continue. You can announce the end of it now. Emo Tianxian had no objection to that. She nodded lightly. Of course, more than 100 people have been eliminated, so it can end now. Long before the puppet self-destructed, more than 100 people had been eliminated. In other words, the number of people left in the secret realm was less than 100, so the competition could be regarded as over. Wait! Suddenly, a soft shout was heard. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice, and a strange look came over their faces. The one who spoke was none other than Gu Taishu. The crisis that he could not solve was solved by an outsider. To him, it was a humiliation. "What's the matter?" the true man of the purple cloud asked. Gu Taishu looked straight at Su Yu and said, "I just think that before the Fengyan Great Meet ends, it's necessary to thoroughly investigate who the culprit is." Upon hearing that, many people's hearts were as clear as a mirror. Emo Tianxuan's eyes turned cold. "Oh? Are you suspecting that Su Yuxian, a student of the Red Blood Palace, deliberately created trouble so that Su Yuxian could come forward and make a name for himself?" Indeed, Su Yuxian's cultivation was not well known, but he managed to do what Gu Taishu could not. He was indeed a great suspect. However, Gu Taishu said indifferently, "No, I believe he has the ability to do so." Obviously, the bystanders had misunderstood Gu Taishu's meaning. Emo Tianxian was surprised. "Then what do you mean?" "I just want to uncover the culprit behind the scenes." Gu Taishu glanced coldly at the remaining geniuses and said gloomily, "This person should be among those who appeared later." After the crisis broke out, no students were transported out until everyone was transported out at the same time. Without a doubt, the manipulator of the puppet was among them. Su Yuxian had certainly damaged Gu Taishu's reputation, but the culprit behind the scenes was the instigator of everything. The true man of the purple cloud and Emo Tianxian looked at each other. The true man stepped forward and said slowly, "This matter will be investigated by our faction masters. You can leave for now." The 18 blessed and heavenly lands Fengyan Great Meet had such a huge setback. How could the two of them let it go? However, there was no evidence to identify the culprit at the moment, so there was nothing they could do. They could only summon the faction masters to investigate each other. Gu Taishu nodded, took one last deep look at Su Yu, and retreated slowly. "In that case, the Fengyan Great Meet has come to an end. Now all students who still have the purple cloud vital energy, step forward," the true man of the purple cloud shouted. Students took a step forward one after another, but the number was far less than 100. There were only about 60 of them. Most of them had 2 whiffs of the purple cloud vital energy. Many of them even had more than 3 whiffs of the purple cloud vital energy, especially the students of the Purple Cloud Palace. Almost none of them had managed to get more than 1 whiff, which was hated by those who had been eliminated. Getting 1 whiff would make it to the finals, so why did they have to get more? The first to be checked were the students of the small factions. Most of them only had 1 or 2 whiffs, and it was amazing to see 3 whiffs occasionally. It was worth mentioning that the number 1 genius of the soul-seizing palace was Wei Bufan. In the eyes of others, he was only an 8th-grade almighty, but with his transparent eye, Su Yu felt the aura of a 9th-grade almighty. The purple cloud vital energy that he had obtained was the most among the 18 students. He had 4 whiffs. Not bad. The true man of the purple cloud smiled approvingly. "You flatter me, true man," Wei Bufan said calmly, looking calm and composed. The true man nodded and looked at Emo Tianxian. "There are only 2 factions left. Should we check yours first, or ours?" Emo Tianxian snorted. "Up to you. Anyway, the Purple Cloud Palace will take all the rewards at the end of the secret realm. It doesn't matter who you check first." Upon hearing that, Su Yu's eyes brightened slightly. Sure enough, there were rewards at the end of the secret realm. No wonder the students of the Purple Cloud Palace were trying their best to get more Purple Cloud vital energy. Chapter 982. As expected, after the inspection, the Purple Cloud vital energy seized by the Purple Cloud Palace disciples attracted hatred. He had checked 10 disciples, and they all possessed at least 3 whiffs of Purple Cloud vital energy. The strongest disciples, Gu Taishu and Lu Chuyi, had yet to be checked. Look at yours," the true man of the Purple Cloud said with a smile. He was exceptionally affectionate toward Lu Chuyi. Lu Chuyi took out her Purple Cloud vital energy, but there were only 2 wisps. In other words, she had only seized one person. Why is there only one? The true man of the purple cloud asked with a smile. Lu Chi's face turned red. I think it's enough to capture one person. There's no need to ruin the future of others. When Su Yu heard this, his heart was touched. This was indeed the Lu Chi he knew. The true man of the purple cloud smiled and shook his head. He seemed to be sure, but he also seemed to be helpless. Then, he looked at Gu Taishu. Everyone's gazes followed closely behind. Gu Taishu was the strongest cultivator of the blessed and heavenly lands. The amount of purple cloud vital energy he had obtained was eye-catching. Needless to say, senior brother Gu will naturally be the champion in this year's Violet Cloud Secret Realm. A pretty female disciple cast a longing gaze at him. Yes, senior brother Gu is the champion every year. There's no doubt about it. The male disciple of the Purple Cloud Palace smiled bitterly and reverently. Gu Taishu was expressionless as he pointed at the top of his head. A mass of dazzling purple light flickered slowly. 10. Many people cried out in surprise. Under such an environment, it wasn't easy to even find a single person, let alone seize their violet cloud true energy. It was not easy to obtain 10 of them. On the other hand, the disciples of the Purple Cloud Palace had calm expressions. They did not find it strange at all. Senior brother Gu was delayed by the sudden appearance of the giant puppet. Otherwise, according to past experience, there would be at least 15 people. A female disciple spoke up for him. But she didn't expect that others would also be delayed. The true man of the purple cloud revealed a satisfied smile. There should be no suspense in seizing 10 wisps of purple cloud vital chi in half a day. Next was the Red Blood Palace. The performance of the Red Blood Palace's disciples was obviously much better than that of the 16 great factions, but it was still lacking compared to the Red Blood Palace. Many of them seized a wisp of vital energy and hid it until the end of the storm meet. There were only a dozen or so people who managed to obtain 2 or 3 da. As for those who could seize more than 4 streams of vital energy, they had yet to appear. I remember that your surname is Bai, and your given name is Shanliang, right? The true man of the purple cloud came before Bai Shanliang and smiled. Compared to the other disciples, his attitude was completely different. Bai Shanliang laughed heartily. It's my honor to know you, master. When the crowd's attention was focused on him, his usually pale face was especially rosy, almost to the point of having a tinge of red. Coupled with his already handsome face, he looked very elegant, attracting the attention of many female disciples. Hee, take out the purple cloud vital energy and let me have a look, Venerable Purple Cloud said. Bai Shanliang nodded with a smile, and a ball of purple cloud vital energy appeared above his head. He was far from being as heroic as Gu Taishu, but he was still a cut above the rest. 5 flashes of purple cloud vital energy? Many people were astonished. This was the second highest number of flashes of purple cloud vital energy after Taishu. Among the group of eliminated geniuses, 5 of them were lying on the ground and howling in pain. They were foaming at the mouth as they glared at Bai Shanliang from afar. Their eyes were filled with disdain and hatred. With their faces, they recounted the tragic experience of how Bai Shanliang had used the most shameless and despicable way to poison them all. Not bad, the true man of the purple cloud said approvingly. If the art of poison was used well, it was very suitable for killing enemies in a large area. The true man cast his gaze at the remaining people. Gongsun Wuxie obtained 2 flashes of purple cloud vital energy, while senior sister Tianyu obtained 4. As for Bing Wuxin, she astonishingly obtained 6 flashes of purple cloud vital energy, which was very surprising. The true man of the purple cloud nodded approvingly. His gaze skipped over her and Bing Wuxing, and there was a complicated look in his eyes. Bing Wuxing, what about you? The true man asked. Bing Wuxing's expression was as gentle as water. She tapped lightly on the top of her head, revealing 2 flashes of purple cloud vital energy. One of them belonged to her, and the other was seized. Only one. The true man was slightly surprised. As a strong man who had defeated Lu Qi and the #1 heaven ruler of the Red Blood Palace, he had only seized one flash of purple cloud vital energy. Bing Wuqing smiled gently. Yes, with junior brother Su around, no matter how hard I try, I can't compete with him. Why should I waste my efforts? Her words were very surprising. Could it be that in the eyes of the #1 expert of the Red Blood Palace, Su Yuxian's cultivation was higher than hers? Was that possible? Gu Taishu couldn't help but look at Su Yu indifferently, his brows slightly furrowed. Many people looked over as well. How much purple cloud vital energy had this guy who had turned the tide at the last minute actually obtained? Su Yu smiled, and a great mass of purple cloud vital energy naturally appeared above his head. A mass of dazzling purple brilliance appeared in front of everyone's eyes. 12 flashes, someone exclaimed. The purple brilliance, even more dazzling than Gu Taishu's, caught everyone's attention. How is that possible? The people of the Purple Cloud Palace couldn't believe the final result. Even the true man of the Purple Cloud was slightly startled. He obviously hadn't expected Su Yu to obtain so much purple cloud vital energy. Only 2 people understood. One was senior brother Lu, who had obtained 3 flashes of purple cloud vital energy with great difficulty. Including the one that belonged to him, he had a total of 4 flashes, all of which had been seized by Su Yu. The other person was the puppet who controlled the giant. He had used such a powerful force to obtain 7 flashes of purple cloud vital energy, all of which had been seized by Su Yu. Emo Tianxuan's eyes shone with a hint of delight. Unknowingly, Su Yu had given her another surprise. The true man of the purple cloud was startled for a moment, then regained his composure. He said, 12 flashes, Master Su, you really surprise us. Gu Taishu had always won first place in the previous Fengyan meets, but this year, an outsider had taken first place. Be it the Purple Cloud Palace or Gu Taishu himself, they were both embarrassed. True man, should I honor my student with the reward? Emo Tianxian asked with a faint smile. The true man's expression turned unnatural for a moment. Of course, of course. Obviously, even the true man of the Purple Cloud was reluctant to give up the reward for the champion, because it should have belonged to Gu Taishu. Ahem, everyone, this year's Fengyan meet has ended. According to the usual practice, the champion has the right to comprehend the divine painting for a day, the true man said. Now, congratulations to our master Su for receiving this opportunity. Divine painting? Su Yu thought he had misheard. What was that? The true man of the Purple Cloud said, the meet has ended. All the students will recuperate at the 3rd peak and wait for the summons of the glittering jewel wonderland. Elders, you must make proper arrangements for them. When he finished, he glanced at the leaders of the factions. In addition, leaders, I'm afraid we need to have a good discussion about the matter of the puppet just now. Everyone nodded. Their students were almost killed as well. How could they let the real culprit go free? When Emo Tianxian passed by Su Yu, she said telepathically, stay here. I have something to talk to you in private later. Another conversation? Su Yu couldn't help but ponder over Emo Tianxuan's meaning. Most people followed the elders of the Purple Cloud Palace back to the 3rd peak to rest, but many stayed behind. Master Su, forgive me for not recognizing you before. I've come to pay a visit. I wonder if you have time? Our eldest senior brother would like to see you. A student of the faction belonging to the Red Blood Palace came forward to greet him and pointed at the tall and straight young man behind him. Su Yu frowned slightly. The experience just now had really made him famous. Before this, Master Su, whom no one had taken seriously at all, had become a hot commodity in their eyes, and they all wanted to get to know him. I have important matters to attend to, so I can't make time for the time being. Please forgive me, senior brother, Su Yu declined politely. Gongsun Wuxia, who was beside him, was far less courteous. She said disdainfully, "Hey! Which faction is so arrogant as to invite my brother Yuxian over?" The student who asked the question looked embarrassed. It wasn't that his eldest senior brother didn't want to take the initiative to come over. It was just that a group of strong men had gathered around Su Yu. His eldest senior brother felt that the chances of inviting Su Yu were slim, but he didn't want to lose face, so he ordered him to come and test Su Yu. It was completely reasonable for him to get such an answer. He left angrily, and the people around him who were hesitant also gave up on the idea and gradually dispersed. In the end, only the people of the Red Blood Palace were left. Su Yu had won back the face of the Red Blood Palace twice. As a student of the Red Blood Palace, he was naturally honored. Many of those who held grudges against Su Yu were suddenly enlightened and took the initiative to greet him. What they were most concerned about was Su Yu's true strength, and they kept probing him. Unfortunately, Su Yu was tight-lipped and didn't reveal much useful information. After greeting him, they went back to rest. "Junior brother Su, congratulations. The divine painting of the Purple Cloud Palace is far more useful to you than it is to ordinary people." Bing Wuqing walked over. Even before she arrived, her fragrance had already reached him. Divine painting? Su Yu was extremely curious about what a divine painting was. Unfortunately, Bing Wuqing smiled faintly and walked past Su Yu. She wasn't willing to talk much. Gongsun Wuxie stared at her back with an unfriendly look and whispered, "Brother Yuxian, don't be charmed by this woman. She's not a good woman who looks the same." Su Yu knew what she was thinking even without her saying it. This woman was very scheming, and Su Yu didn't like her at all. She was calculative everywhere, even when she was adventuring in the secret realm. With her strength, how difficult would it be to seize the purple cloud vital energy? The reason why she only seized one was to preserve her strength, so that no one could see through her true strength. "I understand," Su Yu said. He looked at Bing Wuxing subconsciously and asked, "Are you all right?" He hadn't seen her in the secret realm, so he couldn't help but worry. Bing Wuxing turned her face away and snorted. "Worry about her? Why are you asking me?" She still had a grudge against the relationship between Bing Wuqing and Su Yu. After thinking about it, Su Yu took out the crystal gel and said, "This thing might be useful to you." Su Yu had a leaf that contained 1/10 of a mortal fairy's strength, so he didn't need the crystal gel. Gongsun Wuxie's cultivation had stagnated at the 9th grade fairy level because of the immortality spiritual medicine in her body, so the crystal gel wouldn't work either. Upon hearing that, an unnatural look flashed across Bing Wuxing's cold face. "Humph, this was bestowed upon you by the true man of the purple cloud. Why are you giving it to me?" Bing Wuxing said. Even though she said that, her gloomy mood suddenly brightened up. She didn't realize that even her voice had become lighter. Chapter 983. Bing Wuxing raised her brows, and her jade-like hand snatched the crystal cream away quickly. When she came to her senses, the crystal cream was already in her palm. A hint of panic and redness appeared on Bing Wuxing's pretty face. She forced herself to be indifferent. "I've changed my mind." When she finished speaking, she stepped into the void and left. "Junior brother, congratulations on winning the beauty." "I'll congratulate you in advance," Bai Shanliang said with a smile. Bai Shanliang smiled and said, "When the two of you get married, remember to invite senior brother Qing to your wedding. Of course, as your most respected senior brother, I'm very willing to help you manage the gifts from the guests." "Get lost." Su Yu only had one word to say. "Brother Yuxian, I was right, wasn't I?" After Bai Shanliang left with a smile, Gongsun Wuxie curled her lips into a sly smile. She had been playing matchmaker for Su Yu and Bing Wuxing, helping Su Yu win Bing Wuxing's heart. Now it seemed that the more competitive Gongsun Wuxie was, the faster their relationship developed. Su Yu's eyes were filled with worry. At this point, he couldn't care less about Bing Wuxing's presence. "Wuxie, listen to me." Su Yu looked into Gongsun Wuxie's eyes seriously and took a light breath. He didn't know how to tell Gongsun Wuxie. Would she think that he was lying to her about his relationship with Bing Wuxin? Gongsun Wuxie smiled sweetly. Yes, Wuxie is very willing to be Brother Yuxian's chatterbox. After hesitating for a while, Su Yu said, Wuxie, I haven't told anyone about this. You're the first. I hope you'll have a chance to tell Bing Wuxin. Gongsun Wuxie's eyes shone brightly, and her expression became much more solemn. Actually, my real name is Su Yu. You already know that. What you don't know is that I come from another world. In that world, there is a disciple who is acknowledged by heaven and earth, as well as a confidant. They came to the central prefecture with me, but we were separated when we encountered danger. I've sent people to search for them, and there should be news soon. As Su Yu spoke, he looked at Gongsun Wuxie's expression seriously. Her solemn face became even more solemn, which made Su Yu feel deeply apologetic. Perhaps Gongsun Wuxie felt that Su Yu had deliberately kept it a secret for so long. I have no intention of developing more relationships with other women. My relationship with Bing Wuxin was purely a coincidence. In the future, you don't have to matchmake us like this anymore. Otherwise, in the end, you'll only hurt her feelings for no reason. Su Yu heaved a deep sigh, and as he looked at Gongsun Wuxie, who was getting more and more serious, he prepared himself to be scolded. However, even after waiting for a long time, Gongsun Wuxie still remained silent. After letting out a sigh, Su Yu said, Now that I've said this much, I hope that you can find an opportunity to pass my message to Bing Wuxin. But to Su Yu's surprise, after a long while, Gongsun Wuxie blinked. That's it? Su Yu was startled. I'm done. Upon hearing this, Gongsun Wuxie revealed a baffled expression. Is this what you wanted to tell me? As the young cliff master of the severed fairy cliff, she had seen her father's harem, and the number of women who were attached to him were as many as the hairs on a cow. As far as she knew, it was normal for the strong to have beautiful women attach themselves to them. She had no objections to this. Upon hearing Su Yu's solemn and serious expression, she couldn't help but feel strange. Isn't this important? Su Yu asked, startled. Gongsun Wuxie covered her mouth and giggled. Ha ha ha, Brother Yuxian, we feel that you're hiding something from us, and we've been hesitant to speak a few times. Is this the reason? Su Yu nodded blankly. He, Brother Yuxian, don't worry. All the women in the world, unless they're extremely outstanding, will accept their current situation. Sister Wuxin is no exception, Gongsun Wuxie said. Upon hearing this, Su Yu wasn't happy. Instead, his heart sank. He didn't want to have any unnecessary feelings with any woman other than Xiener and Jingyu. Lingering between them had already caused harm to both of them. Su Yu didn't want it to happen again. Wuxie, please pass on my message, Su Yu said solemnly. Gongsun Wuxie giggled. No way, you can go by yourself if you want. When she finished speaking, she giggled and flew away mischievously. As they neared the third summit, the corners of Gongsun Wuxie's mouth curled up. Ha ha, Sister Wuxin is so proud and arrogant. How could she really allow her man to have a second woman? I was worried that Bing Wuxin wouldn't tolerate me, but now it seems that Brother Yuxian already has women, and there are 2 of them. Sister Wuxin has to tolerate me, even if she can't. Since she can tolerate them, of course she can tolerate me too. This is great news. Next, we'll continue to matchmake them. When Sister Wuxin can't control herself, with her personality, she'll definitely get rid of those 2 women. She's alone and she lacks a partner. Who else can that partner be other than me, a smart and cute little bestie? Ha 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 ha, I'm so smart. Gongsun Wuxie threw her head back and laughed heartily, looking as if she was the best. Su Yu, who had no idea what was going on, waited silently where he was. 2 hours later, a wisp of space fluctuation appeared in front of Su Yu, and a beautiful figure in a graceful black dress stepped out of the fissure. Have you found the culprit? Su Yu's face was calm. He had already noticed the anomaly in the space. Mo Tianxian floated in the air, and said indifferently, "No, they prepared in advance and didn't leave any traces. I can only confirm that the person who manipulated the puppet is among the 60 people who survived successfully." Suyu was lost in thought. If this person didn't have a second giant puppet to manipulate, he wouldn't be a threat even if he went to the glittering jewel wonderland. But what if he did? That kind of absolute combat power was not to be underestimated. "Alright, then what do you want to talk to me about?" Suyu asked. When there was no one else around, he and Mo Tianxian could almost shed all pretense of cordiality and speak without restraint. Mo Tianxian sneered and extended her hand. "What do you want to talk about? Give me back my hairpin." Upon hearing that, Suyu laughed angrily. "You gave me the hairpin in front of everyone, and now you want to take it back? Aren't you afraid of losing face? How could there be such a leader who gave a treasure in front of everyone and then secretly asked for it back?" The hairpin, which contained a full-force blow from a Stage 3 all-creations-old monster, was an incredible life-saving talisman. Now that it had fallen into Suyu's hands, how could she give it back so easily? "I want it. Are you going to bite me?" Mo Tianxian sneered and hooked her index finger. A red light flashed in Suyu's arms, and the fiery red hairpin flew through the air and returned to her palm. Suyu was annoyed. "You shameless woman!" Mo Tianxuan's way of doing things really frustrated Suyu. If it were a woman who cared a little more about face, she would never do such a thing. "How dare you scold me? Kid, I've tolerated you for a long time today. Tang Ling and Lu Ji were eliminated because of you, and I haven't settled the score with you yet. You ignored my objection and accepted the reward from the true man of the purple cloud, which made me lose face. Asking for the hairpin back was a light punishment, but you dared to scold me. I won't forgive you." When she finished speaking, she flicked her finger. All of a sudden, Suyu felt like his buttocks had been pricked by a needle, and he screamed in pain. Suyu was instantly furious. "You be *tch, I'm going to kill you." Upon hearing that, Mo Tianxian sneered. "How dare you be so stubborn?" Poof, poof, poof. She flicked her fingers several times in a row, each stronger than the last. Suyu howled in pain. Suyu was ashamed and furious. Ever since he started training, this was the first time he had met such a shameless woman. Combined with the fact that this woman had bullied him many times before, he was instantly enraged. "If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll really think that I'm a pushover." "You? Ah." Mo Tianxian couldn't stop laughing. Seeing Suyu in such a sorry state, she felt her mood lighten up and unprecedentedly comfortable. Just as she was about to continue her torture, a beam of purple light suddenly shot out from Suyu's left eye and enveloped her. At the same time, Mo Tianxian found that her body had fallen into a strange, stiff state. Her mind was still working, but her body seemed to have fallen into another time and space. It was a very strange feeling, as if there was a delay in time and space between the soul and the body. Right at that moment, Suyu rushed over and pushed Mo Tianxian to the ground. Mo Tianxian was shocked. She felt the heavy body of a man on top of her, and a hint of panic appeared in her heart. She was furious. What is he going to do?" Suyu sneered. He turned Mo Tianxian over, raised his palm, and gave her a hard slap on the buttocks. The crisp sound of the slap reverberated through the empty sky, and also in Mo Tianxuan's mind. Her soul trembled fiercely, and her eyes were filled with shock, confusion, and disbelief. Someone had actually slapped her buttocks. As the palace master of the Red Blood Palace, almost the strongest person under the Qin clan, she was actually pinned to the ground and slapped. An unprecedented flame of shame and anger soared into the sky. Feeling the murderous intent, Suyu sneered. "How dare you still act violently?" Slap. Suyu slapped her again. Mo Tianxian was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. She was ashamed and furious, and she broke through the time seal. She gritted her teeth tightly and was furious. I'm irreconcilable with you. Slap. Slap. It was a slap. No, it was a continuous slap, which kept slapping her buttocks. The pain, accompanied by bursts of numbness, was transmitted to Mo Tianxuan's heart, making her feel even more ashamed and resentful. Her face was flushed involuntarily. After suffering 9 slaps, her body loosened. Suyu, who was on top of her, had run away. Suyu had to run, because the time limit of 3 breaths was up. Mo Tianxian recovered her body and got up immediately. The burning pain from her buttocks made her stagger, and she almost fell forward. The flames of shame and anger filled her face, and her face was flushed. What happened just now was the greatest humiliation of her life. Su! You! Xian! Mo Tianxian gritted her teeth so hard that it seemed she was about to break them. Her long and narrow beautiful eyes were bursting with monstrous flames of anger as she glanced around. The murderous intent emanating from her body could be clearly felt by the whole Purple Cloud Palace, let alone the second peak. The faction masters who had just finished their meeting were all shocked at the same time. What happened? Such a powerful murderous intent. One of the faction masters couldn't help but tremble. The stronger the person, the more powerful the murderous intent emanated. Could this be Palace Master Mo? Those who were familiar with Mo Tianxian felt the hidden aura of Mo Tianxian in the murderous intent. Chapter 984. Let's go and take a look. Could it be that Palace Lord Mo has discovered the real culprit? The true man of the purple cloud felt that this was the only possibility. After Su Yu finished his fight, he immediately fled toward the 3rd summit. Hearing the furious shout, Su Yu gradually calmed down. Only then did he realize what he had done when he had lost his rationality. Putting aside the fact that he had exposed his time magical ability, he had also slapped Mo Tianxuan's butt. Wasn't he digging his own grave? Su Yu's heart turned cold. With Mo Tianxuan's temper, she might really kill him on the spot. He couldn't just sit and wait for death. Fortunately, at that moment, Su Yu felt the aura of a large group of strong men rushing over. With a thought, Su Yu changed his direction and hurtled towards them. He called out from afar, "True man of the purple cloud, please help us. The ghost energy in our palace Master Mo is acting up, and she's going crazy." The true man of the purple cloud did not know who was shouting, but when he heard about the ghost energy in Mo Tianxuan's body, his expression changed drastically. Not good, there's going to be chaos. The true man of the purple cloud's expression changed drastically. He tore apart the space with one hand, shaking off the sect leader behind him, and teleported to the side of the person who had spoken. When he stepped out of the space to take a look, he couldn't help but be surprised. How could it be Su Yuxian? But now was not the time to care. He asked, "Are you sure it was Mo Tianxuan's ghost energy acting up?" 100 years ago, Mo Tianxian was severely injured by the ghost prison's great emperor with the extreme evil ghost energy, causing her to be unable to advance for 100 years. This matter was not a secret among the All Creations martial artists. However, he had never heard of Mo Tianxian going crazy because of this. If that was really the case, the consequences would be dire. With Mo Tianxuan's battle prowess, if she really went berserk, he would not be a match for her at all. Even if everyone present joined forces, they might not be able to capture her. Su Yu nodded. "That's right. I saw with my own eyes an extremely pure ghostly energy flowing out of her body. It was extremely powerful, and it was much purer than the ghostly energy of an all-creation old monster." Upon hearing this, the true man's face darkened. It was the ghost prison's great emperor's extreme evil ghost energy, not bad. Step back. The true man of the purple cloud looked as if he was facing a formidable enemy. Su Yu nodded obediently and immediately circled behind the true man of the purple cloud. Not long after, the leaders of the other sects arrived. When they heard that Mo Tianxian had gone mad because of the extreme evil ghost energy, all of them looked terrified and uneasy. If that woman really goes crazy, will she kill all of us? A leader asked anxiously. Mo Tianxuan's terrifying martial prowess was deeply rooted in everyone's hearts. The true man of the purple cloud said in a low voice, "Everyone, remember not to attack first. Let's see if we can communicate and calm her down first. After all, if we really fight, cough cough, both sides might suffer." Many people blushed with shame. How was this a lose-lose situation? Even if they joined forces, they would not be a match for Mo Tianxian. Of course, if they could avoid fighting, they would be more than happy to agree. Just like that, the leaders of the 17 great sects gathered together as if they were facing a formidable enemy, ready to fight the crazy Mo Tianxian. Buzz buzz buzz. Right at this moment, a spatial fluctuation rippled out. A crack appeared in the space, and Mo Tianxian, who was dressed in black, stepped out of it. Her black dress fluttered even though there was no wind, and her black hair danced wildly behind her. Her bright eyes were filled with dense flames of anger. In his right hand was a pitch-black gear wheel. It was the famous flying guillotine. At this moment, Mo Tianxian looked like she had lost all sense of reason and had transformed into a demoness. Su didn't have to add fuel to the fire. The true man of the purple cloud and the others were already convinced. "Palace Master Mo, please calm down first." The true man of the purple cloud was secretly vigilant. From time to time, he glanced at the flying guillotine in Mo Tianxuan's hand and cursed inwardly. She has even taken out the supreme fairy artifact of the demonic path. She has really gone mad. The rest of the faction leaders were also apprehensive. "Yes, Palace Master Mo, let's talk things over. Why do you have to fight?" "Palace Master Mo, please don't be impulsive. Su Yuxian is so handsome and rare in the world. She had come with the intention to kill. How could she have expected that the leaders of all the factions, including the true man of the purple cloud, would protect him? She couldn't help but wonder how he had convinced the leaders of the 17 great factions to protect him together. He told Mo Tianxian directly that there was something strange about it. But when she saw Su Yu, her eyes were ablaze, and her doubts were immediately forgotten. She glanced at the true man of the purple cloud and the leaders who were trying to stop her and laughed angrily. "If you want to protect him, you're making me, Mo Tianxian, your enemy. Hand him over immediately, or don't blame me for turning against you." The guillotine in her palm made a hissing sound and began to spin slowly. Looking at Mo Tianxuan's indifferent look, the leaders' hearts sank at the same time. It was over, she had really gone mad. The true man of the purple cloud bellowed, "Palace Master Mo, wake up quickly. If you continue to act recklessly, we won't be able to stand idly by." Killing Su Yuxian was not a big deal, but looking at Mo Tianxuan's current demeanor, she was obviously possessed by the devil and had fallen into a state of insanity. If she killed, the elite students they had brought along would all be in trouble, and they might not even be able to escape the disaster. Act recklessly? Mo Tianxian was furious. She had been pinned to the ground and spanked just to avenge such a great humiliation. Was that considered acting recklessly? In fact, if it had been the usual Mo Tianxian, she would have been able to detect some clues from the expressions of the true man of the purple cloud and the others. But at this moment, the burning sensation on her buttocks was constantly stimulating her nerves, causing her to lose her usual calmness. "I'll say it for the last time, all of you get out of my way, or I'll start a massacre." Mo Tianxian gritted her teeth and stared straight at Su Yu as if she wanted to skin him alive. Su Yu's hair stood on end under her stare, but he swallowed his saliva without batting an eyelid. He raised his voice and said, "Seniors, the palace master has gone mad. If we don't subdue her now, she'll really start a massacre when her demonic nature is triggered." The true man of the purple cloud and the others saw that there was no way to persuade Mo Tianxian, so they looked at each other and exchanged glances. For the sake of them and their disciples, The only thing they could do now was to strike first and capture Mo Tianxuan's demonic nature before it flared up. They hoped that the final outcome wouldn't be too tragic. Do it. The true man of the purple cloud acted as if he was facing a formidable enemy. Don't hold back, subdue her first. Mo Tianxian was still fuming when she heard Su Yu yell that she had gone mad. She was stunned. Wait, who are you calling crazy? In a trance, she finally understood why the leaders of the 17 factions were protecting Su Yu. It turned out that this brat was spreading rumors. Thinking of this, Mo Tianxuan's vision darkened, and she almost fainted from anger. He had spanked her buttocks, and now he was accusing her first. Su Yu, Xian. Mo Tianxian yelled through gritted teeth. However, before she could explain herself, the true man and the others swarmed forward. Purple energy from the east. The true man of the purple cloud bellowed, gathering the all creation's mighty force between his palms. The crown on his head spun rapidly, and he crossed the void to grab her. Mo Tianxian was annoyed. I'm not crazy. The true man of the purple cloud bellowed, surrender now. What a joke, which lunatic would say that he was crazy? The leaders of the other factions followed the true man's lead and attacked together. Colorful brilliance shone from all directions, shrouding Mo Tianxian. Mo Tianxian was furious. A bunch of fools. The true man of the purple cloud frowned. Palace Master Mo, wake up. Mo Tianxian was confident that she could kill a large number of them in the face of everyone's joint attack. The problem was that she wasn't crazy. She knew that once she did that, she would hurt the factions in the area by mistake, as well as her ally, the Purple Cloud Palace. Once that happened, the blessed and heavenly lands would have internal strife, and both sides would suffer, which would benefit the Heavenly Knife region. So, she gritted her teeth and withdrew the flying guillotine, relying solely on her all-creation's mighty force to fight against the crowd. Bang bang! The battle between Mo Tianxian and the true man of the purple cloud was truly earth-shattering. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth was in chaos, and the space was torn into strips. Large, horrifying cracks swallowed everything in the surroundings. The huge shock caused many to resonate. Mo Tianxian was strong, but she couldn't go all out because of her scruples. In addition, the leaders of the 17 major factions were suppressing her from the side. After fighting for a while, the two sides were in a stalemate. Mo Tianxuan's demonic aura was monstrous, and she turned into a giant demon. Her palms withstood the joint attack of her opponents, and she said angrily, "Stop. If I were really crazy, I would have killed you long ago. Are you still going to be stubborn?" The true man of the purple cloud pondered for a moment and gradually withdrew the all-creation's mighty force. When they were fighting, he noticed that Mo Tianxian had withdrawn the most dangerous flying guillotine. This was definitely not the act of a crazy person. The rest of the attacks stopped one after another, and they stared at Mo Tianxian anxiously. Although it was a short fight, Mo Tianxian was able to resist their joint attack without relying on the flying guillotine, which made them shudder with fear. If they had only speculated before the fight, now they were almost certain that Mo Tianxian had the confidence to destroy them all. Over the past 100 years, although Mo Tianxian hadn't become a mortal fairy, her strength was getting closer and closer to that of a mortal fairy, and she was getting stronger and stronger. 100 years ago, the true man of the purple cloud was barely on par with Mo Tianxian. Now, it seemed that if the two of them were to fight officially, the true man of the purple cloud would definitely lose. "Palace Master Mo, are you sure you're awake?" The true man of the purple cloud asked cautiously. Mo Tianxian said angrily, "You still don't understand? You've all been fooled by Su Yuxian." Upon hearing that, everyone looked at Su Yuxian in unison, feeling incredulous. In the face of the strong men's gazes, Su Yu was calm and composed. He pointed at Mo Tianxian and said, "Seniors, Palace Master Mo suddenly went crazy and hunted me down. You saw it with your own eyes. Do you still need to doubt it? I think Palace Master Mo isn't awake enough yet. Mo Tianxuan's eyes were spitting fire. Nonsense. Believe it or not, I'll tear you into 1,000,000 pieces. Su Yu shrugged. I'm not talking nonsense. If you aren't crazy, why would you hunt down a little disciple of mine for no reason? All the leaders, including the true man of the purple cloud, had a shrewd gleam in their eyes. This was the crux of the problem. If Mo Tianxian was sober, was it necessary to hunt down a junior with such a terrifying murderous aura? It was hard to imagine that a junior could do something that would make Mo Tianxian lose her mind like this. Of course it was you who hit. Mo Tianxian stopped abruptly halfway through her words. Although her actions were absurd, she was not willing to reveal the greatest humiliation of her life in front of everyone. Moreover, would anyone believe her? A 9th-grade fairy had pinned Mo Tianxian, the strongest person below the mortal fairy, to the ground and spanked her bottom. If she told them, they would only be more convinced that Mo Tianxian had gone crazy. After all, with Mo Tianxuan's cultivation, even a glance or a strand of hair was enough to seriously injure a 9th-grade fairy. How could something like pinned to the ground and spanked her bottom happen? Chapter 985. What did I hit? Did I hit you? Su Yu asked innocently. The true man of the purple cloud and the others shook their heads secretly. Even if Mo Tianxian wasn't completely crazy, she was a little delirious. Mo Tianxian froze on the spot, unable to speak for a long time. She had indeed suffered great humiliation, but no one would believe her. Instead, they would think she was crazy. This was the first time in her life that she had ever felt so depressed and infuriated. Staring at Su Yu from afar, Mo Tianxian was silent for a long time. Gradually, her murderous aura faded, and she regained her composure. Glancing at the crowd, Mo Tianxuan's voice was a little low. I lost control of my emotions for a moment, and I've made a fool of myself. The true man of the purple cloud and the others heaved a sigh of relief. Many of the headmasters secretly broke out in cold sweat. It seemed that Mo Tianxian had calmed down from her crazy state. Everyone, I've calmed down. Now I have some private matters to discuss with my faction's students alone. Can you do me a favor? Mo Tianxian said, pretending to be calm. This. All the headmasters hesitated. How could Su Yu stay behind alone? He said, True man of the purple cloud, Palace Master Mo needs to rest and recuperate, for her own sake and for the sake of our students. The true man of the purple cloud had the same intention. Before confirming whether Mo Tianxian had really recovered, he couldn't let her leave. Palace Master Mo, our faction's 9th peak is called the Jingxin Peak. It has an incredible effect on calming one's mind. Years ago, I was possessed by demons, and I recuperated at the 9th peak. If Palace Master Mo doesn't mind, we're willing to accompany you to recuperate at the 9th peak. What do you think? Mo Tianxian was secretly furious. They wanted to take the opportunity to monitor her. Gritting her teeth, Mo Tianxian shot a cold glare at Su Yu, but the true man blocked it without a trace. He frowned slightly. Palace Master Mo, you really need to recuperate. Seeing that, the headmaster's hearts skipped a beat. It seemed that Mo Tianxian was still in a state of madness. Mo Tianxian was filled with hatred. In the end, she had to be sent to be forced to recuperate. Clenching her fists, Mo Tianxian suppressed the urge to rush over and bite Su Yu to death. She said in a low voice, Thank you, true man. It would be impolite to refuse. Everyone could hear the gloominess and murderous intent in Mo Tianxuan's words. The true man of the purple cloud stared at him and said, Please. Under the watchful eyes of him and the other leaders, Mo Tianxian walked toward the 9th summit reluctantly. Before leaving the 2nd peak, he turned his head and stared at Su Yu. Using the all creation's mighty force, he sent a cold message filled with hatred to Su Yu. Su Yu Xian. I'm not done with you. Mo Tianxian had suffered a great humiliation, falsely accused her of going crazy, and finally forced her to the point where she was forced to concentrate. Mo Tianxian felt that there was a resentment in her chest that was about to explode. If she didn't take revenge, she wouldn't be able to vent the hatred in her heart. "Have a safe journey, Palace Mistress Mo," Su Yu said earnestly, while he heaved a long sigh of relief inwardly. With Zixia Zhenren and many other sect masters guarding him, it was almost impossible for Mo Tianxian to sneak in and kill him. It seemed that before Mo Tianxuan's madness was confirmed to be cured, he would be safe. As for the future, he would take it one step at a time. The true man of the purple cloud personally escorted Mo Tianxian. Before he left, he gave a few instructions to an elder nearby. The elder smiled and came to Su Yu's side. "Master Su, the master of the divine painting is ready. Please follow me." The divine painting was the reward Su Yu had obtained in the Fengyun Great Assembly. "May I ask, elder, what is the divine painting?" Su Yu voiced his doubts. The elder smiled kindly, and there was a hint of pride in his tone. "The divine painting is the treasure of the Purple Cloud Palace. It was inherited from the relics of a deity and contains a trace of the will of the deceased deity. If you can comprehend something from it, it will be of unimaginable benefit to your divine decree." The news that Su Yu possessed the pure divine decree wasn't a secret to the Purple Cloud Palace. Gu Taishu was able to cultivate such a pure divine decree because he stayed in the divine painting all year round. "How much you can obtain depends on you," the elder said. After a short while, Su Yu was brought to a desolate hill. The hill was bare, with only a few stalks of dog's tail grass growing on it. Even with the rich spiritual energy of the Purple Cloud Palace, a hill where no spiritual grass could grow was considered unique. However, Su Yu noticed that the interior of the hill was flickering with hidden fluctuations, and a sense of antiquity was surging towards him. Su Yu's pupils shrank slightly as he stared at a very ordinary pebble on the hill. He murmured, "What an ancient pebble!" By rough estimation, the pebble had existed for more than thousands of years. However, there was no sign of weathering on the surface of the pebble. The elder looked surprised. "You can tell the age of the pebble? You're not simple." He didn't know that Su Yu had used time and space reversal several times. His sensitivity to time was far beyond that of ordinary people. Yes, the whole hill was moved back from the relics of the deity. This hill is said to be the cavern where the deity once trained. There is a painting left in the cavern, which was casually painted by the deity. However, even so, the true man of the purple cloud couldn't copy the painting. If he were to dig it out of the wall, it would damage the charm of the painting, so the whole hill was moved back. Because of the existence of the painting, this hill has not been eroded by time for tens of thousands of years, and it still looks the same today. Then, the elder pointed to a cave at the foot of the hill that was as tall as a person. "Go in, you only have one day. How much you can comprehend is entirely up to you." Su Yu nodded, his eyes shining brightly. The relics of the deity? Gu Taishu's pure divine decree had transcended the past and reached a whole new level, all because of the divine painting here? "May I ask, elder, how many days has Gu Taishu been meditating in the cavern?" Su Yu asked. The elder smiled knowingly. "Do you want to compete with Gu Taishu?" "Ha." He shook his head. "Oh, can't you tell me?" Su Yu asked. The elder chuckled. "It's not that I don't want to tell you, but I don't think you need to compare yourself with Gu Taishu. He is a hero of the blessed and heavenly lands, the most outstanding hero of this generation. No matter how hard you work, it will be difficult to catch up with his attainments in the divine decree. If you are obsessed with it, it will only leave a knot in your heart." Su Yu smiled and looked at the elder quietly. The elder was startled. He suddenly felt that Su Yu's eyes were unusually deep. It was a kind of deep confidence that came from the depths of his heart. After a moment of silence, the elder said, "All right, the Fengyun Great Assembly is held once every 3 months, 4 times a year. Gu Taishu has been training in the Purple Cloud Palace for 20 years, and he has been the champion of the Fengyun Great Assembly in every place. You can count for yourself how many days he has been training there." Having said that, the elder looked at Su Yu deeply. "I will wait for you at the foot of the mountain." Su Yu calculated silently. It had been held 80 times in 20 years. Has Gu Taishu been meditating for 80 days? Su Yu looked at the cavern, a mysterious smile on his lips. He stepped into the cavern. The walls were very ordinary, and there was nothing special about them. Deep in the cavern, a painting was carved on the wall. It was a picture of a gray bird flying into the sky. Staring at the painting, Su Yu could not see anything special about it, nor did he feel any so-called charm. If the elder had not said that it was a divine painting, Su Yu would not have paid much attention to it. But Su Yu was an extremely patient person. Even though he did not notice anything unusual, his eyes were fixed on the painting, never leaving it for a moment. Half a cup of tea's time passed, and there was still nothing unusual. A cup of tea's time passed, and it was still the same. Half an hour passed. 2 hours passed. At this time, Su Yu's eyes were a little sore, and his heart could not help but pound. Could he have missed some steps? Just as Su Yu was about to give up, he suddenly saw something flashing in the picture from the corner of his eye. Although it was an extremely subtle flash, it did not escape Su Yu's eyes. His eyes swept over and immediately looked at the flashing spot. When he fixed his eyes on it, he found that in the white clouds in the picture there was an extremely subtle black dot, like a speck of dust. If it had not flashed, it would have been difficult to be discovered. Everyone's eyes would have been drawn away by the gray bird. And when he looked closely, he found that the little black dot was changing slightly. It was just that the movement was so subtle that it could not be seen with the naked eye. Su Yu's heart moved, and he immediately activated the power of his eyes. The little black dot kept enlarging in Su Yu's eyes. When it was magnified to a certain extent, Su Yu was surprised to find that the little black dot was actually the shadow of a person. The shadow was shouting crazily in the picture. Even through the picture, Su Yu could feel the shadow's anger. And the direction that the shadow was facing was always the gray bird, as if the bird had taken something away from it and angered it. With a thought, Su Yu sat cross-legged in front of the painting wall and activated the power of time, causing the surrounding time and space to slow down by 500 times. Su Yu's mind and soul were one, and he focused all his attention on the shadow. This observation lasted for several hours. The shadow roared for a while, then suddenly raised its hand and slashed at the gray bird. This slash seemed to have triggered the rules of the universe. Invisible chains were born from the void of the universe, and they wrapped around the gray bird. The gray bird cried out in alarm, and its body showed signs of aging. Its feathers were dull, and its vitality was declining. Its flight was slowing down. But with a sharp cry from the bird, the chains broke, and it recovered to its original state. It spread its wings and flew into the distance. The broken chains scattered in all directions. One of the fine pieces of the chain hit in Su Yu's direction. That was clearly the matter in the picture, but the chain seemed to jump out of the picture and hit Su Yu's body. Boom! In an instant, Su Yu's soul suffered a huge impact. A sharp pain came from the depths of his soul, as if it was about to be torn in half by the impact. Su Yu let out a horrible shriek in pain. Buzz! Buzz! At this moment, the divine nine-dragon cauldron appeared, and drops of red liquid rolled out, fusing with Su Yu's limbs and bones. The pain in the depths of his soul gradually subsided. Su Yu suddenly opened his eyes, and a large amount of blood sprayed out of his mouth. His body slammed into the wall as if he had been electrocuted. Upon a closer look, Su Yu was not only bleeding from his mouth, but also from his eyes, nose, and ears. Just being hit by the fragments of the chains in the picture, separated by 10,000 years of time and space, had caused his soul to shatter and his facial features to bleed? Su Yu was extremely shocked. "What is that thing?" he asked. Chapter 986. He had never seen such a rare and terrible thing. If this thing came from 5,000 years ago, it would be enough to kill Su Yu with a single blow. While Su Yu was still in shock, there was a slight chill in his mind. It seemed that some strange information had appeared in the depths of his mind. He looked inside and sensed it, but it was some kind of mysterious and strange meaning. Is this the charm of the divine painting? Su Yu's heart trembled. He was attacked by the shards of the chain. In this way, he could obtain some of the hidden charm of the divine painting. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Su Yu immediately concentrated on comprehending the charm in his mind. As soon as he touched it, Su Yu felt as if he had touched the mysteries of the universe. This feeling was very similar to the Book of First Heavens, which also contained the mysteries of the entire universe. The difference was that the Book of First Heavens was more general, like a book that contained the whole world. The charm conveyed by the shards of the chain was only a small part of the universe. As Su Yu comprehended it, he faintly felt as if he had touched upon something. It was as if he had found a staircase amidst the dense fog. However, when he lifted his foot to step down, there was fog in front of him again, and he could not step down no matter how hard he tried. And the charm stopped there. Again, Su Yu was not disappointed. Instead, he was full of excitement. Compared to the half a day that Su Yu had spent, only a few breaths had passed in the outside world. The elder who was guarding outside probably thought that Su Yu had not officially started yet. When he looked at the myth again, the same scene appeared. Usually, it was the extremely small shards that hit Su Yu. Bang! With a loud noise, Su Yu was seriously injured again. However, Su Yu had no time to treat his injuries. He immediately felt the charm left in his mind. This time, the charm was completely different from the last time. It was a new feeling. When he finished, Su Yu felt that he had touched a step. The feeling became more obvious. It's really a charm. Su Yu's eyes were filled with the light of clarity. After comprehending two kinds of charm, Su Yu faintly felt that his pure divine decree, which had been stagnant for a long time, had changed a little. It seemed to be more solid, and his understanding of the pure divine decree was more thorough. An unprecedented sense of emptiness enveloped his heart, as if his soul had been reborn. It was also like an unprecedented new door had opened for Su Yu. Before making another attempt, Su Yu immediately took care of his body's injuries. After suffering 2 heavy injuries, Su Yu's body had already reached its critical point, and if he were to suffer another injury, his body would probably be completely crushed. However, time was limited, and Su Yu couldn't waste too much energy on it. All of a sudden, Su Yu's eyes lit up, and he retrieved a jade bottle filled with drops of sparkling liquid. It was the fountain of life that he had obtained from Jinmu. Every drop contained an incomparably powerful life force and had an incomparably shocking effect on healing injuries. Back then, he had given away a bottle, and there were still about 30 drops left. Swallowing 1 drop at a time was too wasteful, so Su Yu swallowed half a drop at a time. Then, he used healing elixirs to heal his injuries by 70 to 80%. Then, he continued to cultivate. Next, he would be struck by the chains again to receive the divine charm. Then, he would heal himself and be struck by the chains again. And so on. The sun was setting in the west, and a day had passed. The elder of the Purple Cloud Palace was still waiting outside quietly. He slowly opened his eyes and shook off the beads of sweat on his body. He muttered to himself, "It's about time to come out. He should have given up already." Right at that moment, 5 rays of light appeared out of thin air above the cavern. The rays of light condensed into a vague and majestic figure. The figure had black hair and black eyes, and was wearing a pitch-black cloak. He stood in the void, as majestic as a divine king, great emperor. A pair of black eyes, like the sun and the moon, overlooked the vast earth. The pitch-black light emitted from his whole body was like a divine light. Anyone who was bathed in it would have the urge to worship it. It felt as if they had encountered a real deity. The elder was momentarily stunned, and his face turned pale with fright. he cried out in horror, the divine Laksana! He has also touched the level of virtual level? Impossible! Absolutely impossible! In just one day, he has reached the level that Gu Taishu spent 20 years cultivating. How could he know that Su Yu had already comprehended 200 times under the state of time acceleration? Gu Taishu had only done it 80 times. Moreover, Su Yu had evolved from the pure divine decree to the peak of the pure divine decree. Gu Taishu, on the other hand, had evolved from an ignorant child to this point. In terms of innate comprehension, Su Yu, an ordinary person in the past, was far inferior to Gu Taishu. However, in the world of cultivation, only the results mattered, not the process. Inside the cavern, Su Yu's whole body was riddled with wounds, and he looked like a man made of blood. Halfway through his comprehension, the fountain of life had been completely consumed. He had to rely on healing elixirs to endure the rest. However, the effects of the elixirs were far inferior to the fountain of life, and they could only heal 30 to 40% of his injuries. In the end, Su Yu had exhausted all of his healing elixirs. In the end, when he had exhausted all of his elixirs, he had no choice but to give up. Fortunately, the divine charm brought about by the impact of the chains was almost exhausted. If he continued to impact it, the divine charm he obtained would be repeated. With the help of these divine charms, Su Yu's divine decree entered a whole new realm. His intention was to go against the flow. No matter how difficult or dangerous it was, he would go against the current. To go against the injustices of life was the intent. To go against the injustices of the world was the divine decree. To go against the injustices of the world was the pure divine decree. This was Su Yu's journey in comprehending the intent, and it was also the true portrayal of his life. From resisting the injustices of life to resisting the injustices of the world, and finally to resisting the injustices of the world, every step he took was an improvement in his intent. In the Zhenlong world, the world he resisted was the heavens formed by Gu Taishu. Therefore, although his pure divine decree was powerful, it was limited to a small world. At this moment, from the chains, Su Yu could vaguely feel the outline of the universe, and his pure divine decree was elevated. With the divine decree, nothing could suppress Su Yu, unless the universe and the world suppressed him. Even the formation and space could not suppress Su Yu. Once his divine decree was released, he could go against them and break them. The only thing that puzzled Su Yu was the divine Laksana that appeared above his head. Every time a living being comprehended the void transformation realm, a divine Laksana would appear. It meant that the divine path walked by this creature was very close to that of a god who had already become a god. In other words, the black-haired, black-eyed deity draped in a black cloak was shockingly similar to Su Yu's divine decree. However, the most important thing right now was the person. Such a commotion might be detected by the elders outside. This was something that Su Yu was not willing to expose. Everyone knew that the appearance of another divine path genius who had touched the void transformation divine decree would bring him a lot of trouble. Swoosh! Su Yu's eyes flickered as he quickly left the cavern. The light above his head and the divine Laksana suddenly dissipated. The elder watched Su Yu's appearance and the disappearance of the Laksana. He finally came to his senses and said expressionlessly, "Since you have finished comprehending, go back to the third peak to rest. I will not accompany you. Farewell." Su Yu's eyes flashed coldly. How could he allow him to leave? "Elder, wait. I have something to ask." The elder's expression changed. Not only did he not stop, but he also sped up towards the ninth peak, looking anxious. No matter what, he had to deliver this shocking news to the true man of the purple cloud. As for how the true man of the purple cloud would deal with it, that was his business. No matter how magnanimous the true man of the purple cloud was, it would be difficult for him to tolerate Su Yu's existence. There was only one Gu Taishu, and there could only be one. Two blazing suns could not exist in the same sky. Suyu also thought of this, and the coldness in his eyes intensified. However, the elder was a ninth-grade almighty, and his speed was far beyond Suyu's. He was about to escape. Right at that moment, Suyu felt a burning sensation in his arms. A jade box floated out, and an extremely solid soul emerged from it. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, and said indifferently, "Come back!" An incredible scene unfolded. The elder, who had fled to the horizon, stopped in his tracks as if he had been cursed. Then, he flew back on his own. His eyes were blank, and he was obviously under some kind of control. Suyu was secretly surprised. He could control the mind of a ninth-grade almighty with just a word. What kind of technique was this? The elder flew back obediently and stood in front of Yun Yazi, motionless. The person in front of him was undoubtedly Yun Yazi. Compared to the last time he had appeared, Yun Yazi's soul was more solid this time. Not only was it the same as a living creature of flesh and blood, but even its interior was indistinguishable. Moreover, in terms of strength, it was obviously stronger than the last time. You have to pay attention to the training of your movement techniques. Yun Yazi turned to look at Suyu, his eyes filled with relief. Suyu was delighted. "Master, you've come out of isolation?" Yun Yazi looked Suyu up and down. The more he looked, the more satisfied he was. He couldn't help but smile. "You've made such shocking progress on the divine path. How could I not come out of isolation to congratulate you?" This was the first time that Yun Yazi had abandoned his isolation and appeared because of Suyu's progress. "Ha, master, you flatter me. It's all thanks to your guidance." Suyu flattered him. Yun Yazi smiled and shook his head. "I've never guided you on the divine path. This is your personal learning, and it has nothing to do with me. You don't have to flatter me." "Well, even if you flatter me, I won't give you any benefit." His last sentence exposed Suyu's little trick. Suyu was embarrassed. In front of this soul who had lived for an unknown number of years, no tricks could be hidden from him. "You're only one step away from touching the void transformation divine decree. That's a realm that only deities can touch. You've reached such a stage on the divine path at the realm of the fairy. I really misjudged you back then. I thought you only had a little talent for souls. I didn't expect your greatest talent to be in the divine path." Yun Yazi sighed. He had taken Suyu as a disciple because he had taken a fancy to Suyu's little talent for souls. That was why he had taught Suyu the heaven's sun gazing at air. Now that Suyu had displayed an even greater talent, it was the divine path. It was no wonder that Yun Yazi sighed. The divine path will continue to grow with your cultivation until you reach the limit of your cultivation. You have to make good use of it, Yun Yazi reminded him. Just like the heavenly eyes, when Suyu's strength reached the first-grade almighty, he would lose his potential to grow stronger. Suyu was deeply convinced. "I understand." Yun Yazi's face was flushed. He looked at Suyu as if he had accidentally picked up a piece of treasure, making Suyu uncomfortable. Chapter 987. Suyu was secretly delighted. He looked at the elder with hesitation in his eyes. "Master, how should I deal with him? My divine path has touched the level of virtual level, which is no small matter. Once it is leaked, I'm afraid there will be great trouble." Yun Yazi chuckled. "What's so difficult about that?" Yun Yazi's eyes flickered, and the elder slowly regained consciousness. When he opened his eyes, he said in surprise, What happened to me?" When he saw Suyu in front of him, he said in shock, "Master Su, when did you come out? Did you find out how I fell unconscious?" Suyu was shocked, and could not help but look at Yun Yazi beside him. He seemed to have no recollection of what had just happened, nor did he notice that Yun Yazi was standing beside Suyu. His memory has been erased. "As for me, without my consent, no one can see me," Yun Yazi said. In the past, whenever someone came, Yun Yazi would avoid being discovered. From his tone, it seemed that even Mo Tianxian would not be able to detect his presence. After some time, Yun Yazi had become much stronger. Erasing memory? Su Yu was also surprised by this matter. According to what he knew, memories were a part of the soul, and erasing memories wasn't as simple as controlling people. It was a soul path, and it could only be achieved by someone who had reached an extremely high level. At least, even a mortal fairy could not do it. It's a small path of soul, not worth mentioning. When your heaven's sun gazing at air has been trained to a certain level, you can do it easily. Yun Yazi was not concerned at all. Go back to your place of residence. Su Yu nodded nonchalantly, then turned to the elder and said, Elder, I feel that I've learned something. I'll go back and meditate in seclusion. Thank you for watching over me. The elder immediately waved his hand and smiled. Don't mention it. After a pause, the elder's expression was unnatural. He looked around and said in a low voice, Master Su, I hope you can keep my accidental slumber a secret. I'm not neglecting my duties, but I don't know why. Su Yu smiled. Rest assured, elder. I think it's probably because of the continuous incidents today, and you're exhausted. How can I bear to see you punished by the faction? If the faction knew that he had fallen into an unknown state of slumber at such an important time, he would definitely be interrogated and punished. This was something that he didn't want to face, and it was also something that Su Yu didn't want to happen. The elder said in shame, Thank you for your understanding, Master Su. I can't thank you enough. You can come to me if you have any difficulties in the future. Elder, you are too polite. Su Yu cupped his fists and left. He returned to his courtyard on the third peak. Along the way, he heard the crowd talking about the secret realm and Mo Tianxuan's madness. Knowing that Mo Tianxian was still receiving treatment at the 9th summit, Su Yu felt more at ease. After entering the house, Su Yu immediately shut the door and refused to entertain any guests. What are your thoughts and plans on breaking through to the Divine Master Realm? Yun Yazi asked simply. Su Yu thought for a moment, then said, To be honest with you, I'm intentionally suppressing my cultivation at the 9th grade fairy level. In terms of the soul, I've reached the 1st grade almighty level. In terms of vital energy, I've accidentally obtained a leaf that contains 10% of the mortal fairy's strength, which is enough for me to break through to the almighty level. I'm confident in these two aspects, but there's one aspect that I'm not sure about. Yun Yazi said, Crossing the tribulation? Su Yu nodded solemnly. Yes. His tribulation was different from that of ordinary people. Back when he was crossing the tribulation of the fairy, the disastrous fire that only broke through to the all creations appeared. Although the 5 golden light guards were involved, the disastrous fire would still appear even without them. It was just that they intensified the disastrous fire and made it more dangerous. Now that he was crossing the tribulation of the Almighty, the danger would be even greater. If an ordinary person made serious preparations, found a few reliable treasures, and had the protection of the all creation's old monsters, they should be fine. But Su Yu's tribulation was unpredictable. Especially after comprehending the charm of the chain fragment, he had gained a deeper understanding of the world. Intuition told Su Yu that the tribulation he was about to cross was no small matter. Yun Yazi nodded slowly in response to this. I'm relieved that you're so cautious. However, I still won't make a move for you unless it's necessary. However, I'll teach you how to overcome the tribulation. In the past, Yun Yazi's tone was that he wouldn't help Su Yu even if his soul was destroyed. But now, he had changed his mind. He wouldn't help unless it was absolutely necessary. Firstly, the danger Su Yu was facing was getting greater and greater, and Yun Yazi felt the need to help. Secondly, it was not easy for Su Yu to grow to where he was today, and the various potentials he had displayed were very tempting, so they were reluctant to give up on him. Teaching a man to fish is better than teaching him to fish. I'm all ears, Su Yu said. Yun Yazi praised, very good. Your talent is indeed valuable, but your temperament is what I admire the most. I once divined for you that your god Lord Tribulation will have 3 tribulations. 3 trials? Suyu felt as if something was stuck in his throat. In the past, the 2 ordeals had almost killed Suyu. Wouldn't the 3 ordeals be even more dangerous? Master, may I ask which 3 ordeals are they? Suyu asked. Yun Yazi said, the first tribulation is the heavenly tribulation, the second is the human tribulation, and the third is the relationship tribulation. If you can't overcome it, you will die. Suyu understood the heavenly ordeal, but what about the human ordeal and the relationship ordeal? There's no need for me to elaborate on the heavenly tribulation. Heaven and earth will send a natural and destructive tribulation. The human tribulation is a tribulation caused by your hostility towards others. The emotion tribulation is a tribulation caused by your emotions. The calamity caused by antagonizing others. Could it be referring to Gu Taishu? And who was the love tribulation referring to? Bing Wuxin and Gongsun Wuxie? Master, are the 3 tribulations closely connected? Suyu asked. Yun Yazi shook his head slightly. No, the 3 tribulations are separated by 9 days, and 1 tribulation occurs every 9 days. After 3 nines, you will have the body of 3 nines if you succeed in overcoming the tribulations. You will gain more benefits than other strong men who have broken through to the Almighty. It might even help you reach the level of 9th grade Almighty in 1 step. Upon hearing that, Suyu sucked in a breath of cold air. Breaking through from the 9th grade fairy to the 9th grade Almighty in 1 step? That's right. When ordinary people break through to the Almighty, there is only 1 tribulation. But your will is filled with the divine decree of defying people, fate, and the heavens. Inexorably, you have come into contact with some rules, so 3 types of tribulations will befall you. This is equivalent to you breaking through to the Almighty 3 times in a row, and the benefits you will gain cannot be measured with common sense. At least, as far as I know, the divine Laksana behind you broke through to the 8th grade Almighty in 1 go when it broke through to the Almighty. How much you can break through depends on your performance, Yun Yazi said. He seemed to know who Suyu's divine Laksana was. Suyu's eyes were filled with excitement. If he didn't succeed, he would turn into ashes. If he succeeded, he would reach the heavens in a single bound. This was the first time in his life that he had experienced such a thrilling breakthrough. Master, please teach me the way to overcome the ordeals. Suyu's eyes were filled with joy. Yun Yazi laughed. Don't be anxious. Listen to me slowly. According to my calculations, you will have no problem dealing with the ordeals of people. As for the ordeals of people, you will be in great danger. I can't predict it clearly, but I can remind you of one thing. Phoenix? Phoenix? Phoenix as in phoenixes? Suyu made a mental note to pay close attention to anything related to phoenixes when going through the ordeals of people. As for the ordeals of relationships, Yun Yazi's eyes were filled with worry. This is the ordeal that worries me the most. Since ancient times, of the 3-9 ordeals, the most difficult ordeal is the ordeal of relationship. Once it breaks out, there is a slim chance of survival. I can't predict it at all. You have to grasp everything on your own. All I can remind you is to abide by your conscience. Abide by my conscience? What was the so-called conscience? Suyu was confused. Would the ordeals of relationships really consign Suyu to eternal damnation? Who on earth had initiated the ordeals of relationships? Since the 3 ordeals have arrived, there is no point in running away. You should adjust your mentality and prepare patiently. I will also guide you in all aspects of training before you go to the glittering jewel wonderland, Yun Yazi consoled him. Suyu smiled. I, Suyu, have weathered all kinds of storms and even destroyed the world. Do you think the 3-9 ordeals can trap me? A faintly discernible divine charm reverberated around Suyu. Yun Yazi seemed to have sensed it. His eyes lit up and he couldn't help but laugh. Ordeals are also a kind of restraint, and your divine path happens to be in defiant. I suddenly have the confidence that you can get through the 3-9 ordeals. Su Yu smiled, his eyes full of determination and confidence. Next, before the arrival of the glittering jewel wonderland, I will guide you in all aspects of training, Yun Yazi said. He raised his hand and grabbed the jade box from Su Yu's chest. I don't need to tell you. You already know what's inside, don't you? Su Yu's expression turned cold. This item was obtained in the abyss of Wudong in the Zhenlong continent. It was a treasure left behind by the Kangwu sect master. The Kangwu sect master used to be one of the 5 great guards of the central prefecture's emperor, Shen Yichen. After Shen Yichen perished, he gave one of the jade boxes to Su Yu for safekeeping. This jade box was discovered by Shen Yichen on the continent when he was alive. It was a meteorite from outer space. Once it was opened, it would summon the extraterrestrial demon. Back then, Shen Yichen was plotted against by the current central prefecture's king with this jade box, and he was fatally wounded by the ghost prison's great emperor. This jade box had fallen into Su Yu's hands by accident. Today, Yun Yazi was finally ready to open this jade box. Master, you want me to use the extraterrestrial demon in it to train demonic techniques? Su Yu's 9 dragons demon subduing technique had been trained to the 4th dragon, but it had stagnated due to the lack of demonic energy. Yun Yazi nodded slightly. I don't need to stay in this jade box anymore. This jade box is perfect for you to train in. Su Yu said gravely, Master, once this jade box is opened, the extraterrestrial demon will be released. What if it goes out of control? He wasn't confident that he could subdue such a ferocious demon. Yun Yazi chuckled. Don't worry. After so many years, I've already refined the extraterrestrial demon in it. Now there's only pure demonic energy left in it. Refined? Su Yu suddenly remembered that the evil god relied on devouring the souls of the Almighty to gradually grow stronger. Could Yun Yazi's recovery be so powerful because of the extraterrestrial demon sealed in the jade box? That was the only plausible explanation. Thank you, Master. Su Yu was overjoyed. Back then, a single demon's hair had helped Su Yu successfully refine 3 demonic dragons. How many demonic dragons could he refine with the demonic energy of all the extraterrestrial demons now? The power of the demonic dragons increased exponentially with the number of demonic dragons, and the further they went, the more powerful they became. If all 9 dragons were gathered, Su Yu was confident that he could fight an all-creation's old monster face to face. Chapter 988. The first level of the heavens sun-gazing at air was the soul transformation realm, the basic level of solidifying one's soul. The second level was the soul control realm, where one could control the strange techniques of a strong martial artist who was a level higher than oneself. This had helped Su Yu many times. The third level was the unknown illusionary soul realm. You've already comprehended the second level to perfection, Yun Yazi said. The cultivation method for the third level should have appeared on the bronze plate. If you have time, you can refer to my comprehension and start cultivating. He attached great importance to Su Yu's cultivation of the heavens sun gazing at air. Strangely, Yun Yazi's divine path was not the path of the soul. The heavens sun gazing at air was something he had obtained from a very mysterious ruin and cultivated along the way. He valued this technique far more than the divine path that he walked on. It was clear that he had great expectations for the heavens sun gazing at air technique. Thank you, Master. Su Yu was delighted. When he was training the soul change realm and the soul control realm, Yun Yazi had never intentionally given him any pointers. However, at stage 3, Yun Yazi had directly given him his own comprehension as a reference. With Yun Yazi's comprehension, Su Yu would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort, and his speed would be much faster than before. Just focus on your cultivation. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. Before you enter the glittering jewel wonderland, I'll protect you, Yun-Yazi said. Suyu was gratified. Cultivating 2 types of techniques would undoubtedly speed up his progress. It was rare for Yun-Yazi to personally instruct him. Suyu pondered for a moment, then took out a green slate. It was the slate he had snatched from Jinmu's body. The stone slab was the core part of the puppet. It contained a whiff of the mortal fairy's strength and was very dangerous. Suyu did not dare to touch it rashly. He could only wrap it with vital energy. Master, I obtained this item from a puppet. May I know if I can use it for myself? Suyu asked expectantly. Yun-Yazi took a look and a strange look appeared in his eyes. Oh? It's a puppet heart refined by the heavenly craftsman race. Does this race still exist in the 9 regions? This was the first time Suyu had heard of the heavenly craftsman race. Could it be one of the eternal races? Master, may I ask if the ancient races really exist in this world? Suyu asked the question that had puzzled him for a long time. Yun-Yazi pondered for a moment and nodded slightly. His tone was slightly heavy as he said, "There is indeed. Please explain it to me in detail." Suyu's eyes lit up. He had been curious about it for a long time. However, Yun-Yazi said meaningfully, "Now is not the time for you to know. Why? Are the ancient races still some sort of taboo?" Suyu asked in surprise. Yun-Yazi sighed and said, "No, I just don't wish for you to see some unacceptable truths before your cultivation has reached a certain level. When your cultivation reaches a certain level, even if I don't tell you, I believe you will know the truth. Knowing it now will do you more harm than good." Unable to accept the truth? Suyu was full of doubts. What was there that he could not accept? However, he believed Yun-Yazi's words. Since he did not want him to know, there must be a reason. "Yes, I understand. But is the heavenly craftsman race very famous?" Suyu asked as he stared at the green stone slab. The heavenly craftsman race is one of the 3 middle-class races in the ranking of the ancient races. They are unparalleled in terms of craftsmanship, weaponry, and craftsmanship. The heart of the puppet is one of the more famous products of the heavenly craftsman race. It is almost impossible for other races to imitate it. The value of this item is also very expensive, no less than a fairy artifact. I did not expect it to exist in the Jiuzhou continent. Comparable to a fairy artifact? Suyu's heart palpitated. "How do I use the heart of the puppet?" Suyu asked. Yun-Yazi said, "It's very simple. As long as you have a puppet and insert the heart of the puppet into it, you can activate the heart of the puppet and manipulate it as you wish." Suyu's eyes were filled with joy. "I have a puppet. Master, please take a look and see if it is suitable." With a thought, Suyu took out the silver puppet. Back then, the soul born within the puppet had been destroyed by the demon's hair scream, but the puppet itself had not been damaged. And it is a rarely seen shape-shifting puppet. Yun-Yazi saw through the attributes of the puppet at a glance. The puppet in front of him was in a vague metallic state, but Suyu clearly remembered that the silver puppet had 3 forms. One was the form of a handsome man, another was the form of thousands of silver threads that devoured the flesh and blood of all living creatures, and the last was the form of a giant silver python. The material of the puppet is not bad either. It is suitable to be your assistant. Yun-Yazi grabbed the puppet over and grabbed the green stone slab floating in the air with his bare hand. Suyu's expression tensed up. "Master, be careful. The mortal fairy's strength is hidden in the green stone slab." Before he finished speaking, a terrifying wave shot out from within the green stone slab. The destructive mortal fairy's strength erupted. But Yun-Yazi's face was unfazed. He wiped his palm on the green stone slab, and the wave dissipated immediately. Even the wave of transportation was smoothed out. The outside world did not feel the shocking wave at all. Such a technique surprised Suyu. He could not understand Yun-Yazi's current cultivation state at all. A snow-white flame emerged from Yun-Yazi's fingertip. It touched the body of the silver puppet, and with a sizzling sound, a fist-sized hole appeared in the puppet's chest. Then, Yazi stuffed the green stone slab into the hole. With a slight tremble, the green stone slab drilled into the puppet's body, as if it were a living thing. The green stone slab slowly emitted a faint space energy, enveloping itself. "Master, what is it doing?" Suyu asked in surprise. Yazi said, "It is creating space to hide itself. This is one of the wonders of the puppet's heart. Once the puppet is severely injured, it can hide immediately and keep itself intact." Creating space on its own? Was this something only mortal fairies could do? Suyu thought about the hint of mortal fairies' strength contained in it and understood. Because there is not much mortal fairies' strength left, the process of creating space will be very slow. It will take about a month. You have to wait patiently. Suyu nodded, his eyes filled with anticipation. "Master, once it succeeds, how strong will this puppet be?" Yazi said, "This puppet's heart should be of the lowest grade. Plus, the puppet is not considered top-notch. The final strength it can unleash will not exceed the level of a Stage 3 all creations old monster." Hearing that, Suyu was excited. Stage 3 all creations old monster was enough. Taking the puppet, Suyu put it into the 9 jade spiritual pearl. Yazi turned a blind eye to it. He had never delved into Suyu's secrets. "Finally, before you begin your training, take care of a more important matter." Yazi's face became solemn. Suyu's heart skipped a beat. Before he went into isolation, he had solemnly mentioned that the next time he came out, he would focus on dealing with an item on Suyu. The Tao Tai's eye. Suyu had always kept this in mind. "Master, may I ask what harm the Tao Tai's eye poses?" Suyu asked. In the past, in order to break the suppression of the heavenly wrath, Suyu had risked cultivating a heaven-devouring demonic eye with the Tao Tai's eye to dissolve the heavenly wrath and restore his eyes and pupil technique. Back then, Phoenix Master Chiu had reminded him that the Tao Tai was a very ferocious and vengeful creature. None of the creatures who had been transplanted with the Tao Tai's organs had met a good end. For a long time, Suyu had not taken it seriously until Yazi brought it up. Chapter 989. Suyu said, "Master, please enlighten me. What are the small and big ones?" Yazi said, "The Tao Tai is one of the 4 great ancient ferocious beasts. It is the most feared ferocious beast in the world. When it is born, it devours the life, blood, and spiritual flesh of all creation's old monsters. As it grows, it devours mortal fairies. Once it reaches adulthood, it begins to feed on gods." Feed on gods? Suyu shuddered. What kind of supreme existence was a god? Who in the world would dare to provoke a god-eating beast? It is rumored that in the universe, there is an ancient Tao Tai that has existed since the beginning of the world. It is the ancestor of all Tao Tais, and it is also the ultimate form of Tao Tai. It feeds on the universe, and wherever it passes, the universe is destroyed, and all living things perish. Even the strongest gods in the world cannot resist it. It is above all living things. Upon hearing that, Suyu sucked in a breath of cold air. There was such a terrifying Tao Tai. It was above all gods. You should understand what kind of creature a Tao Tai is, right? Yazi said solemnly. Suyu nodded deeply. In the past, he only knew that a Tao Tai was a legendary ancient creature. Only now did he truly feel the terror of a Tao Tai. "Master, what does this have to do with the danger you mentioned?" Suyu pointed between his brows. "Is it because I have occupied a Tao Tai's eyeball that it will sense it and hunt me down?" This was also Phoenix Master Chiu's advice in the past. A Tao Tai was greedy by nature and would seek revenge. None of the races that had transplanted a Tao Tai's eyeball had a good ending. Perhaps this was what Yazi was worried about. No. Unexpectedly, Yazi said, "Tao Tais are rare. Most living things will never find their traces in their entire lives. The probability of you running into a Tao Tai is negligible." Hearing that, Su Yu heaved a sigh of relief. He asked doubtfully, "But Master, none of the races that had transplanted a Tao Tai's eye like me had a good ending. Didn't the Tao Tai take revenge on them?" "That was just a rumor spreading because they feared the Tao Tai." Yun Yazi seemed to know everything in the world. "They did not die because of the Tao Tai's revenge, but because there was a serious problem with the transplanted Tao Tai's eye. It was the eyeballs problem." "Master, what's the problem with my eyeballs?" Su Yu asked. Yun Yazi said, "This is related to the Taotia's method of cultivation. The reason why the Taotai is so strong is precisely because it possesses the innate divine ability of devouring. The more things it devours, the stronger its devouring power becomes. The more it devours, the stronger its devouring power becomes. This is the reason why the Taotai can grow to the realm where it feeds on God. With such extraordinary talent, he was simply a monster of the heavens and earth. It was no wonder that he could stand above all living beings. However, the heavenly Tao is constant. Although the Taotai has such a heaven-defying divine ability, it also has a fatal innate flaw. This is the reason why the number of Taotais in the world is always maintained at an extremely small number. This is because most of the Taotais will die in this world before they grow up because of their innate flaw." Upon hearing this, Su Yu seemed to have understood something. "The fatal innate flaw that Master mentioned, could it be the eyes?" As Yun Yazi spoke, he looked at the space between Su Yu's brows with worry in his eyes. "That's right. The Tao Tai's eyes are also known as the heaven-devouring demonic eyes. They are terrifying eyes that can devour deities. Its most fatal problem lies in its eyes." "Master, what exactly is the fatal flaw?" Su Yu's heart was thumping slightly. A Tao Tai that fed on deities, a creature that was superior to deities, had died because of it. What kind of terrifying flaw was that? Yun Yazi said solemnly, "The fatal flaw is that once the heaven-devouring demonic eyes are activated, it needs to devour continuously. Once it is not satisfied, it will start to devour itself. Body, soul, everything will be devoured, leaving nothing behind. In the end, only a pair of heaven-devouring demonic eyes will be left behind. If I'm not mistaken, the heaven-devouring demonic eyes between your brows should be the eye left behind by a Tao Tai that was devoured by itself." Su Yu's heart pounded violently. A demonic eye that would devour him? "But Master, I've transplanted this demonic eye for several years, and there has never been any abnormalities," Su Yu said, hoping to get lucky. Yun Yazi's eyes were still filled with worry as he shook his head slowly. "Have you ever activated it after transplanting it?" "If it has never been activated, I still have a way to take it out." Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. He had only used the heaven-devouring demonic eyes once. Back then, he had forcefully used the heaven-devouring demonic eyes to withstand a blow from the Blood Emperor. That was the only memory that had ever been activated. Knowing that Su Yu had used it before, Yun Yazi sighed deeply. Regardless of whether it has been activated for a short period of time, as long as it has been opened, it is considered to have been activated. Now, the power of rules that exists in the eyes has been integrated into your soul. Even if your body collapses, the eyes will still follow you closely until you are devoured by it. I have no way to expel it. As for the fact that you haven't devoured anything else for several years without any abnormalities, this is also a mistake made by the other races that transplanted the heaven-devouring demonic eyes. They thought that by combining it with some kind of spiritual treasure, they could suppress this drawback. Unfortunately, even the third-rate races among the ancient races could only delay it. You haven't activated it now, but it doesn't mean that you are safe. You have only been delayed for a few years. Su Yu's heart sank as he listened. It was only a matter of time before the heaven-devouring demonic eyes activated. When that time came, Su Yu would be forced to start devouring living creatures continuously until there were no more powerful creatures, and the eyes would start devouring him. However, you don't have to worry too much. Even if the eyes start to act up, you can still follow the path of the Tao Tai. Devouring all living creatures as a way of training is also an opportunity. Yun Yazi comforted him, his face showing a mixture of joy and worry. The heaven-devouring demonic eyes are something that can only be encountered by chance. In billions of years, there have only been 2 or 3 cases of eye transplanting, but all of the people who have had eye transplants have achieved amazing height. Su Yu smiled bitterly. Master, you don't have to comfort me. I can bear it. The crisis had been laid, and there was no use in running away. Besides, there were still a few years to find a way to continue delaying the effects of the eyes. It's good that you have such a mentality. I will also look up ancient books for you when I go into seclusion next time to see if there is a way to undo it, Yun Yazi comforted him. Su Yu knew that the chances were slim. The end of the Tao Tai's fate was to die from his own eyes. Apart from the Tao Tai that lived as long as heaven and earth, no one else could escape the chains of fate. Yun Yazi was merely comforting Su Yu. Thank you, Master. I don't have much time left. I'll start training, Su Yu said. Yun Yazi nodded, sat cross-legged beside Su Yu, and began to guide him in his training. Time passed in the blink of an eye. In 3 days, strange scenes appeared all over the Jojo continent. The pear trees that had withered for 100 years and were almost reduced to dust actually bloomed overnight. New springs gushed out from the ground in the dried-up mountains and rivers. Mortals who had been blind for many years and had been plagued with serious illnesses suddenly regained their sight overnight, and their illnesses were all gone. Newly born children were tested to have excellent qualifications and were fought over by many influences. The strange scenes all indicated that the Jojo continent was in a special period. It was a 100-year period where geniuses collided and competed for fortunes. Whether it was mediocrity or a meteoric rise, it all depended on this day. The glittering jewel wonderland was about to arrive. The wonderland was left behind by the glittering jewel mortal fairy with all her might before her death. Everything she had in her life was contained within. Due to her overly powerful mortal fairy strength, the glittering jewel wonderland was constantly circulating in the starry sky of the universe, and it would only return to the Jojo continent every 100 years. 100 years was the time when the geniuses of the older generation would retire, and the geniuses of the new generation would emerge. Whether it was the blessed and heavenly lands, the heavenly knife region, the central prefecture, or the other 8 prefectures, the eastern continent, the western continent, the northern continent, the southern continent, or the central continent, everyone was paying attention to the glittering jewel wonderland that was about to descend. All the top geniuses were ready to go. Chapter 990. The Blessed and Heavenly Lands 9th Summit. Palace Mistress Mo, how do you feel? The true man of the purple cloud and the leaders of the 17 major sects stood in the center of the 9th peak. A beautiful and cold woman dressed in a black chiffon dress sat cross-legged in the center of a Tai Chi pattern. Cold spiritual chi surrounded her slowly. Mo Tianxian opened her eyes slowly and said calmly, "It's me." "Very well. Alright." Only those who were familiar with Mo Tianxian knew that she had said those 3 words through clenched teeth. If it was anyone else who was molested and ended up being framed as a lunatic and forced to face the wall to reflect for 3 days, it would be difficult for them to calm down. The true man of the purple cloud sighed to himself. It seemed that Mo Tianxian was still not fully awake. He was worried that Mo Tianxian would go crazy again and attack the disciples wantonly. However, the glittering jewel wonderland was approaching, and Mo Tianxian couldn't be suppressed any longer. Alright. According to past experience, the glittering jewel wonderland's celestial bridge will soon extend to our central continent. Palace Master Mo, quickly gather the disciples and wait for the wonderland's summon. Mo Tianxian nodded her snow-white chin, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. The sound of the bell echoed across the 10 peak. The geniuses who were resting on the 3rd peak came out of their rooms and looked at the 1st peak. Inside the secret chamber, Su Yu's eyes were tightly shut. 6 black demonic dragons were swimming around his body, filling up the whole secret chamber. Demonic energy was billowing everywhere. This devil chi was extremely pure and different from ordinary devil chi. It was clearly more powerful. Yun Yazi sat quietly at the side and nodded slightly. It's a pretty good technique. The energy of heaven and earth is conserved, and there are gains and losses. However, this technique uses the body as a prison and seals the devil chi within the body so that the devil chi can only enter and not leave. Therefore, with every additional devil dragon, the power of the technique will increase exponentially, not exponentially. The further one cultivates it, the more powerful it will be. According to Su Yu's experience, it took him half a month to refine the 4th dragon. This was because the further he went, the more difficult it would be to refine the demonic dragon. In fact, refining the 5th dragon would probably take more than a month. However, with Yun Yazi's guidance, Su Yu found another way to bypass the limitations of the cultivation technique and compress the time to 1 day. As for the 6th dragon, it might have taken more than 2 months to condense, but it was successfully condensed in 2 days. Such a fast speed shocked Su Yu. Yun Yazi's casual guidance seemed to be a different approach, but in fact, it was almost equivalent to an impromptu improvement of the cultivation method. Perhaps in the eyes of someone at Yun Yazi's level, the so-called high-grade legendary technique was just like a toy that could be improved at any time. If not for the fact that he was pressed for time, under Yun Yazi's continuous guidance, it would only be a matter of time before Su Yu cultivated this cultivation technique to its peak. Compared to the time when there were 4 demonic dragons, the power of the 6 demonic dragons had increased by several times. It would be difficult for an 8th grade almighty to resist 5 demonic dragons. If he were to face 6 demonic dragons, it would be tantamount to seeking his own death. With this demonic technique, Su Yu wouldn't be in much danger in the glittering jewel wonderland, as long as he didn't run into any top-notch experts. Of course, it was only man-made. The dangers that existed in the glittering jewel wonderland couldn't be underestimated. This demonic technique is not bad. The demonic chi in the jade box should be enough for you to condense the 8th demonic dragon. If you have the chance, find the demonic chi and cultivate to the 9th dragon. Yun Yazi praised this technique. Yes, I understand. Su Yu said, the only pity is that I don't have enough time to comprehend the 3rd stage of the heaven's sun gazing at air. I've let you down, master. He had high hopes for Su Yu's comprehension ability and the heaven's sun gazing at air technique. Yun Yazi shook his head lightly. The heaven's sun gazing at air technique is only a supplementary technique. The glittering jewel wonderland is a great trial and training for you. You need powerful technique. Cultivating the 9 dragons' demon-subduing art is your top priority. It won't be too late to cultivate the heaven's sun gazing at air technique when you have time in the glittering jewel wonderland. Su Yu smiled. I will work hard to cultivate the heaven's sun gazing at air technique. Yun Yazi nodded lightly. Dong. The distant sound of a bell drifted into Su Yu's ears, and he perked up. It's the summoning bell. It looks like the time is almost here. Su Yu's whole body trembled slightly, his heart filled with anticipation. The glittering jewel wonderland that had been spreading since he arrived in the Jojo continent had finally arrived. Yun Yazi said, Go, I will appear again in the wonderland to help you get that thing. When he finished speaking, Yun Yazi turned into a ray of light. When the light dispersed, Yun Yazi disappeared, leaving only a strand of white hair drifting in the void. Then, the strand of hair drifted down to the top of Su Yu's head and merged with his white hair. Su Yu was quite surprised by such a technique. Souls could change forms? This is just a soul illusion technique, a means to confuse perception. My body actually hasn't changed. If you cultivate the illusionary soul realm to the top level, you can confuse the perception of others as you please, Yun Yazi said. The illusionary soul realm? Su Yu licked his lips. If that was the case, after the soul left the body, it could confuse the enemy. Combined with the second stage of the soul control realm, it would be invincible. After withdrawing the demonic energy that filled the house, Su Yu's eyes shone brightly. He stepped out and rushed to the 9th summit with the other students. When they arrived, all the students of the Red Blood Palace were there. When they landed beside Bai Shanliang and the others, they found that their expressions were strange. Even Gongsun Wuxie and Bing Wuxin looked the same. It seemed that something had happened. What happened? Su Yu asked. The three of them were silent for a moment, and the atmosphere was unusually depressing. Brother Yuxian. Gongsun Wuxie's small mouth squirmed and she looked sad. Brother Rinyao has fallen. Hearing that, Su Yu's mind roared. Tian Rinyao had fallen? Although he had mentally prepared himself, it was still hard to accept the sudden news. How did you know? Su Yu asked. Gongsun Wuxie's bright eyes were misty. The life token he left in the faction suddenly shattered. The life token was a treasure instilled with a drop of blood essence. Once the person with the blood essence died, the drop of blood essence would sense it and emit the power of the blood essence to shatter the jade token. This was a common method, and there were few deviations. In addition, Tian Rinyao and Bai Shanliang had been chased by the blood-bone great soldier and were lost. Unless a miracle happened. A trace of sadness flashed across Su Yu's heart. Xuelian was right. The life of a martial artist was like an ant in the mortal world, vanishing in an instant. No one knew which of their peers around them would suddenly disappear from the world tomorrow. The blood-bone great soldier. Su Yu's eyes were full of cold light. He hated himself for not being strong enough to stop the blood-bone great soldier when he was weak, so he killed his companion. The 5 great demons of the Demon Mountain had lost one, and there were only 4 of them now. Just as Su Yu was feeling sad, Yun Yazi's voice came from above his head. Kid, don't worry. Your friend is probably not dead. It's just the other half who died. This person is a little strange. Yun Yazi knew about Tian Rinyao's existence. He must have found out about it when he checked Su Yu's surroundings when he woke up from his isolation. Su Yu raised his eyebrows. Not dead? Then what's with the life token? Just as Su Yu was about to ask, Yun Yazi suddenly disappeared. Buzz. Buzz. Chapter 991. The Immortal Mountain Rises, the Road to Greatness. 1,000 miles of mountains and rivers, 1,000 miles of bones. 10,000 races are exterminated, deities fall. Who in the world is a true monarch? That voice contained a vast and mighty aura. Su Yu's whole body shook violently, as if he had been engulfed by a boundless divine power. His body stiffened and he couldn't move an inch. Su Yu had only ever experienced such a feeling of being as small as an ant in such a vast world. That was the tree goddess of the ancient Paulownia tree. The tree goddess in the form of a woman. Just by looking at her sleeping body, Su Yu couldn't move at all. That kind of divine power was still fresh in Su Yu's memory. The feeling in front of him was extremely similar to the feeling of encountering the tree goddess. The only difference was that the tree goddess's aura was stronger. Apart from Su Yu, the rest of the disciples were also shocked, and the same voice echoed in their minds. Only the disciples of the Purple Cloud Palace with mediocre aptitudes and the elders present did not feel anything. The sudden abnormality caused the expressions of the elders to change drastically. The sect leaders of the sects in the 9th summit might not have heard the voice, but they could clearly sense an unusual presence enveloping them. Emo Tianxuan's eyes shone. The fairyland has arrived. Whoosh! Emo Tianxian tore the void apart with one hand, and the true man of the purple cloud also tore the void apart with a flash of brilliance. The two of them teleported to the sky above the 9th summit at the same time, arriving among their own disciples. Both Emo Tianxian and the true man of the purple cloud stared at the void, their eyes filled with anticipation and excitement. Emo Tianxian murmured softly, "The celestial mountain rises, the road to glory, 1,000 miles of mountains and rivers, 1,000 miles of bones, thousands of races perishing, gods falling, who in the world is a true lord? She seemed to be reminiscing and excited. The true man of the purple cloud could not help but recite these obscure words. This was the sound that appeared when the glittering jewel wonderland summoned disciples who met the requirements. It had always been so since the beginning of time. Emotiantian, the true man of the purple cloud, and all the well-known strong men of the Jojo continent had once obtained the glittering jewel wonderland's fortunes. Entering the celestial realm to cultivate once meant a qualitative leap. If he missed this opportunity, the distance between him and the current generation of heaven's favorites would definitely widen until he was completely left behind. At the same time, the eastern, southern, western, and central continents were also alarmed. As tens of thousands of people raised their heads, a beam of 9-colored light descended from the endless starry sky, turning into a bridge that led to the heavens. The bridge was vivid and lifelike, and the stairs were clear and extremely solid. It didn't seem like something formed from multicolored light at all. Shrouded in the radiant 9-colored light, Su Yu's heart stirred, and a feeling that he was about to break through a bottleneck welled up in his heart. The celestial bridge is descending. All disciples, get ready! Emotiantian said in surprise. The students of the Red Blood Palace had been waiting for a long time, and they all leaped toward Emotianchuan's back. Su Yu hesitated for a moment before he flew over as well. Standing before the fairy bridge, Su Yu was excited. Was the glittering jewel wonderland at the end of the fairy bridge? What kind of world was that? What kind of challenge was that? The other sect leaders also gathered their disciples and began to solemnly and mysteriously explain something. At that moment, Emotiantian turned around and said, "The 9-colored light bridge that you're seeing is called the Fairy Bridge. Once it's opened, you'll arrive at the glittering jewel wonderland. You should all know about this, but what I'm going to say next is information that can't be divulged to the outside world. I'll only say it once, so don't miss a single word." Upon hearing that, the disciples, whose attention was focused on the fairy bridge, shuddered. There was information that couldn't be divulged to the outside world? Some information can only be divulged when shrouded by the multicolored light of the fairy bridge. Otherwise, the glittering jewel wonderland will be destroyed. Needless to say, this is a lesson that many disciples who have participated in the secret realm have learned with their lives and blood. Emotiantian glanced at the end of the fairy bridge, her eyes filled with awe. A woman like her, who was not afraid of the heavens or the earth, rarely showed a look of reverence. Everyone gasped. Even mortal fairies had perished because of this. All disciples who have participated in the glittering jewel wonderland will be automatically branded with a brand. Once they sense that secret information has been divulged, no matter how far away they are, they'll be killed by the wonderland. Even mortal fairies can't avoid the destruction of the wonderland, Emotiantian said. They only knew that the glittering jewel wonderland was a holy land of creation, but they didn't know that it was an existence that could kill mortal fairies from a distance. The glittering jewel mortal fairy had passed away, but the wonderland she left behind could still suppress the mortal fairies of the present age. What level had she cultivated to when she was alive? Everyone's heart was in turmoil. Therefore, the experiences and dangers in the secret realm have never been divulged to the outside world. There's only one time when it can be divulged for a short period of time, and that's now. When the 9-colored light bridge shrouds, the glittering jewel wonderland is in the period of extending the fairy bridge. The powerhouses who have participated in the fairy bridge are temporarily shielded by the brand in their bodies. If some information is divulged at this time, it won't be detected. Now, all of you, listen to what I'm going to say. Emotiantian spoke quickly. The wonderland is divided into 5 gardens, which are the flower garden, the book garden, the martial garden, the beast garden, and the mausoleum garden. Every garden is a place for training that the glittering jewel mortal fairy has meticulously designed. Creations are hidden in the 5 gardens. Your task is to find your own creations in the 5 gardens. At this moment, a disciple asked, Palace Master, how do we find our own creations? Are there any techniques? Mo Tianxian shook her head. Without techniques, how can creations be called creations? The mysteries of heaven and earth are endless. If there are traces to follow, it's not enough to be called creations. According to the disciples who have participated in the Wonderland for many years, the creations obtained are all by chance. It's possible that a bird flying by the roadside bumps into you and brings you a supreme cultivation technique. It's also possible that a withered branch trips over and pulls out an ancient fairy artifact. It's also possible that a spiritual beast brings a mortal fairy's divine crystal to you with its mouth. Upon hearing this, everyone clicked their tongues in wonder. Creations could be obtained this way? Palace Master, does this mean that the opportunity to obtain creations has nothing to do with one's cultivation? A disciple who had barely passed the selection of the Fengyun Great Assembly asked expectantly. Mo Tianxian nodded, then shook her head. You can say that, but you can't. It's true that the opportunity to obtain creations is not determined by one's cultivation. However, the longer one stays in the Wonderland, the higher the chance of obtaining creations. The glittering jewel Wonderland is full of dangers. Most of the weak ones will die before the creations arrive. Only the truly strong ones can survive for a longer time, and their chances of obtaining creations are much higher than the weak ones. Moreover, it's possible for them to obtain creations twice in a row. What she didn't say was that she was a person who had obtained creations twice. She was also one of the few people who had obtained creations twice since the beginning of time. Her demonic supreme fairy artifact came from the glittering jewel Wonderland. Her words made the hearts of many lucky disciples sink. After all, one had to rely on one's strength to speak. Palace Master Mo, may I ask if there's some kind of power in the Wonderland that will eliminate us? Bing Wuxin asked. This was also what most of the strong ones wanted to ask. Chapter 992. Each disaster is stronger than the one before. The first disaster is the disaster of flowers, which will eliminate about 20% of the challengers. The second disaster, the disaster of books, will eliminate 30%. The third disaster, the disaster of martial arts, will eliminate 40%. Mo Tianxian explained in detail. As for the fourth and fifth disasters, they are for the last 10% of the challengers. The former will eliminate almost everyone, but the last disaster will be unavoidable. To be precise, even the 9 great prefectures' kings might not be able to survive it. Mo Tianxian was very certain. This meant that the last disaster, the disaster of dead spirits, had never been successfully passed by anyone. Palace Master, is the disaster of dead spirits really that terrifying? Someone asked. Even the prefecture's kings and mortal fairies couldn't survive the disaster of dead spirit. Mo Tianxian nodded slightly. Exactly. Once the disaster of dead spirits appears, it won't end until everyone is eliminated. What is the disaster of dead spirits? Mo Tianxuan's answer didn't solve their doubts. Mo Tianxian said, I don't know. It is the most mysterious disaster among the 5 great disasters. Those who have seen it were eliminated immediately. No one knows what it is to this day. An unknown disaster? Everyone was anxious. You don't have to worry. According to past experience, when a disaster is over, there will be an explosion of sublimations. The more disasters that follow, the more sublimations there will be. Generally speaking, those who successfully survive the third disaster will get a sublimation, and those who survive the fourth disaster will get a second sublimation. Only 10% of you can survive the third disaster, so you don't have to worry about the last disaster. Hearing this, everyone felt much better. Besides, apart from the inherent dangers of the glittering jewel Wonderland, there is a second danger you need to be aware of. I don't need to remind you of this, Mo Tianxian said. The second danger was, of course, people. According to the rules of the glittering jewel wonderland, the more strong people you defeat or kill, the higher the chances of getting sublimations. Mo Tianxian solemnly revealed a piece of information that no one knew about. Everyone raised their eyebrows. There was such a strict rule? In this way, even those who were kind and didn't want to kill at will would try their best to kill the rest of the challengers in order to get sublimations. Su Yu deeply furrowed his brows. Such a rule was completely encouraging the heaven rulers of the present age to kill each other. The intention of the glittering jewel mortal fairy was to pass down her inheritance to the future generations. However, wasn't she afraid that this method would cause the current generation of geniuses to wither away? However, thinking about it carefully, in the eyes of the glittering jewel mortal fairy, the standards of a genius were much higher than that of an ordinary person. Perhaps even Su Yu might not be able to enter her eyes. Now that there were so many experts on the continent, it was not necessarily because of the fierce competition. For the weak, this sudden rule was undoubtedly adding insult to injury, but for the strong, it was good news. Bang! All of a sudden, the bridge of immortality trembled, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. A large portion of the sky was torn into a pitch-black void. Many sect masters were shocked and shielded their disciples behind them. Mo Tianxuan's voice stopped abruptly. The rest of the leaders also stopped teaching the secrets of the secret realm at the same time, as if it was a taboo. Without a doubt, the shield had been removed. The celestial bridge has completely descended. You all had best remember my words. Now, prepare to enter the celestial bridge. Mo Tianxian stepped forward and came before the celestial bridge. A ray of 9-colored light enveloped Mo Tianxuan's body. Even someone as strong as her trembled slightly. Under the 9-colored light, she seemed to be struggling. The true man of the purple cloud also stepped forward immediately, his whole body trembling violently. It was even more difficult for him to withstand the light than Mo Tianxian. The light condensed into a 9-colored door above their heads. After passing through the hall, they could enter the celestial bridge. Disciples of the Red Blood Palace, as well as disciples of the factions, enter the door immediately and enter the celestial bridge. Mo Tianxian bellowed in a deep voice. Bing Wuxin, Bai Shanliang, Gongsun Wuxie, and the others stepped forward one after another, flying through the 9-colored door and crossing the celestial bridge. Su Yu's eyes flickered. He followed Gongsun Wuxie closely and was about to cross the hall. However, the moment he crossed the threshold, a murderous look appeared in Mo Tianxuan's eyes, and she flicked her index finger subtly. All of a sudden, a ray of black light shot out from her fingertip and into Su Yu's glabella. He felt a slight pain, as if something had entered his body. Su Yu was furious, but before he could vent his anger, Mo Tianxian swept him up with her sleeve and threw him into the door. After falling into the celestial bridge, Su Yu turned around angrily. However, when he looked back, all he saw was a vast expanse of whiteness. There were only stairs that extended infinitely downward. Even the purple cloud palace was nowhere to be found, not to mention Mo Tianxian. The celestial bridge can transport people instantly. Su Yu suddenly understood. Su Yu immediately checked his body and found a pitch-black brand that was deeply imprinted on his heart. The brand wasn't dangerous, but when Su Yu used his vital energy, he found that he couldn't get rid of it at all. Don't waste your energy. This is a brand that was condensed with one's lifespan. It can only gradually fade with the passage of time, and external forces can't get rid of it. It seems that Palace Master Mo didn't focus on attentively for the past 3 days. Instead, she didn't hesitate to use her lifespan to brand you. Yun Yazi laughed out loud. Su Yu couldn't laugh at all. Master, what's the use of the brand? I can't see its power. Yun Yazi laughed. The brand isn't harmful, but Palace Master Mo can know your exact location at any time. In the future, you won't be able to escape from her hands. It turned out that it was a tracking brand. Suyu felt a lot more relaxed. Let her be. One day, I'll make this woman suffer a little more, Suyu said casually. When he finished speaking, Suyu stepped onto the stairs. It was just a casual step, but Suyu clearly felt that he had undergone a long-distance transmission of an unknown distance. When his feet touched the ground, what appeared beneath his feet wasn't stairs, but solid ground. The fragrance of the soil and the refreshing air assaulted his senses. When he looked around, it was actually a world of colorful flowers. As far as his eyes could see, it was a world of flowers. Big and small, unknown flowers of various colors weaved together to form a colorful world. Haha, looks like your luck isn't very good. You were transported to the center of the first disaster, the flower garden. Yun Yazi laughed lightly. The flower disaster was the first disaster that was about to erupt, and the flower garden was the center of the outbreak. Being here was naturally more dangerous than being in other areas. Moreover, the flower garden is a very troublesome place. It's fine if a woman enters, but if a man enters, there will be endless trouble. Leave quickly. Suyu rolled his eyes. Was there a difference between men and women in the flower garden? However, he still listened to Yun Yazi's advice and chose a direction to leave the area. After flying for about 4 hours, Suyu was still in the sea of flowers. At that moment, not far in front of him, a mournful scream erupted. From a group of flowers as tall as a person, the figures of several challengers leaped out in panic. Oh my God! The king of flowers, Bao Chrysanthemum, is here! Run quickly! Chapter 993. Just as this evil name popped up in Suyu's mind, several figures rushed over like a gust of wind. He looked into the distance and saw 3 youthful silhouettes riding wooden birds that the blessed and heavenly lands had never seen before. They were flying toward the horizon. The wooden bird was exquisitely crafted, and the carvings were vivid and lifelike. Even the pair of wings was no different from a real bird. If not for the fact that Suyu could see through the wooden bird's internal structure, he might have been fooled by its appearance. The wooden bird's speed was very fast, easily reaching the speed of a 9th-grade almighty. This must be a challenger from the Heavens Craftsman region of the Central Prefecture, isn't it? Suyu looked at the wooden bird and the attire of the person on it, and he had a rough idea of who it was. The Heavens Craftsman domain was one of the 5 domains of the Central Prefecture, and it was adjacent to the Blessed and Heavenly Lands. Unlike the neighboring Heavenly Knife region, the Heavenly Craftsman region was one of the few regions that were friendly to the Blessed and Heavenly Land. 100 years ago, the Great War between humans and ghosts broke out at the border of the Blessed and Heavenly Lands, which affected the Heavens Craftsman region. The 2 regions had joined hands many times. Hence, the atmosphere of hostility was far less intense than in the Heavenly Knife region. The owners of the 3 wooden birds were 2 men and a woman. Their cultivation was at the 8th-grade almighty level, and the aura emanating from them was not weak at all. Judging from his aura alone, he should be slightly stronger than Tang Ling, who was also an 8th-grade almighty. The 3 of them looked anxious, as if they had encountered an extremely dangerous situation. They urged the wooden birds to fly with all their might. Unfortunately, it happened to be in the direction of Suyu. Suyu revolved the power of his pupils and tried his best to look behind them. He saw a large expanse of golden chrysanthemums standing proudly under the sunlight. The cluster of flowers, under the illumination of the sun, emitted rays of yellow light, like rays of light interweaving in the sky. The 3 wooden birds were in the center of the interweaving light. One of them was swept by the light and was immediately smashed into pieces. The trial taker on the wooden bird let out a blood-curdling scream as he was also annihilated. Suyu saw with his own eyes that the challenger's soul was obliterated. An 8th-grade almighty could be considered a big shot in any corner of the Jojo continent. However, in the glittering jewel wonderland, it was no match for the rays of a flower. As for the other 2, the man raised his hand and took out a bronze sword with complicated patterns. It swept across the sky and cut off the rays that were shooting at him. Traces of remnant rays of light flashed on the bronze sword. It turned out that the function of this sword was to absorb attacks and use it to cut off the enemy's attack. The young man's swordsmanship was brilliant, and his movements were relaxed. Amidst the dense rays, the sword's shadows were dense and impenetrable. On the other side, the woman tossed out an exquisite pink lotus. The lotus bloomed in the sky, and pink petals flew out, surrounding the wooden bird and protecting it. However, the defensive power of the lotus was limited. 1 or 2 rays were still safe and sound, but the rays were too dense, making it difficult for the petals to resist. Senior brother Ding Ping. The woman sensed danger and had no choice but to seek help from the man on the wooden bird nearby. The man glanced sideways, and his expression changed drastically. However, under the concentrated rays, he could barely protect himself. How could he have the strength to save his junior sister? Junior sister Shine, please bear with it for now. I'm coming. The man shouted in a low voice, but he had no intention of approaching her. How could Shine not see that Ding Ping was powerless to save them? Gritting her teeth, she twirled her slender fingers and manipulated the flower petals around the wooden bird, causing them to explode simultaneously, creating a powerful shock wave. A large number of rays were obstructed. Seizing this opportunity, Shine bit the tip of her tongue and sprayed a mouthful of blood essence onto the wooden bird. Suddenly, the wooden bird's speed doubled, and it suddenly rushed forward. Her pretty face quickly turned pale. Obviously, this method of using blood essence to activate the wooden bird was very costly, and it could not be used repeatedly. Swoosh, swoosh. However, at this moment, a strange voice that was half male and half female came from among the thousands of golden chrysanthemums on the ground. You've intruded into my precious chrysanthemum territory, and you still want to escape? This voice was as mushy as Tianrenyao's, and it made one's hair stand on end. As soon as the voice finished speaking, a ray 3 times as thick shot out from the center of the chrysanthemum. Its speed was several times faster than the other rays. Shine had barely escaped the range of the ray, but it caught up with her again. The ray was about to penetrate the wooden bird and wipe it out. At this moment, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and landed between the ray and the wooden bird. From the lightning, a man with white hair and a silver face stepped out. His snow-white hair billowed in the airwaves, and his whole body was covered in lightning. At first glance, he looked like the god of thunder. In the face of the massive ray that could destroy even a 9th-grade almighty, the white-haired, silver-masked man raised his hand and offered a round pearl that was half white and half yellow. He placed it in front of him. The powerful ray bombarded the round pearl, but it did not shake it at all. Instead, it bounced off. The round pearl remained motionless from beginning to end. Before they could react, the silver-masked, white-haired man clenched his fist, and the round pearl disappeared without a trace. The sudden scene surprised not only Shine, who had just recovered from the shock, but even Bao Juhua snorted. Another one has come to seek death. Fine, I'll grant you your wish. Swish, swish. The rays that erupted from the thousands of chrysanthemums were more than doubled in intensity. Humph! Suyu snorted softly. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and performed a mysterious posture. All of a sudden, the demonic energy in his body surged, and 5 demonic dragons roared out and circled around him. All the incoming rays were engulfed by the billowing demonic energy emitted by the demonic dragons, vanishing without a trace. At the same time, the demonic dragons roared and swooped down, destroying a large number of chrysanthemums and reducing them to ashes. Not only that, but the demonic dragons also burrowed into the ground. Before long, a giant chrysanthemum with a golden body drilled out from the depths of the ground with a furious roar. The giant chrysanthemum was 1,000 feet wide, forming a clear human face. It was now glaring at Suyu furiously. "You've angered me." Suyu replied coldly. "So what if I angered you?" He had thought that the giant chrysanthemum would fly into a rage and fight with Su Yu. However, to everyone's surprise, the giant chrysanthemum's face suddenly changed into a shy expression. I love charming men like you the most. Come on, yell at me again, hit me again. Su Yu's expression froze. This familiar feeling made Su Yu shudder with fear. Say something. I love powerful men the most. I'm very willing to marry you, the giant chrysanthemum said coquettishly. Su Yu's mind was in a mess. He finally understood what Yun Yazi meant when he said that men would be in trouble if they landed in the garden. Did these sentient flowers never look at themselves in the mirror? Su Yu shuddered. With a light tap of his toes, he flew onto Cheyen's wooden bird with a spin. He asked, Miss, aren't you going to leave? Cheyenne was stunned by Su Yu's swift and fierce moves. When she came to her senses, Su Yu was already on the wooden bird. She said hurriedly, okay, I'll activate it now. Swoosh. The wooden bird flew away quickly. Ding Ping got a chance to catch his breath. He activated the wooden bird to catch up quickly. An hour later, 2 wooden birds stopped on a hillside full of blooming flowers. I'm Ding Ping from the Heavens Craftsman faction of the Heavens Craftsman region. This is my junior sister, Cheyenne. May I know your name? As soon as Ding Ping landed, he immediately came to Cheyenne's side and shielded her behind him. He looked wary of Su Yu. Su Yu glanced at him indifferently. His eyes naturally fell on the wooden bird. How could he help her for no reason? The reason was naturally this wooden bird. He was lacking in speed and body movement technique. This wooden bird had the speed of a 9th grade almighty, so it was a very good choice. Your Excellency, I'm asking you a question. Ding Ping frowned, his tone a little displeased. He had given up on saving Cheyenne, but the silver-masked man in front of him had done it. How could he be happy? Especially when Cheyenne was the most beautiful woman in the Heavens Craftsman faction. Cheyenne glanced at Ding Ping, her eyes filled with disappointment. She didn't blame Ding Ping for leaving her in the lurch, because he could only save himself. However, she didn't like it when Ding Ping was jealous of others. He was inferior to others, yet he blamed others for being stronger. Walking out from behind Ding Ping, Cheyenne curtsied and said, Junior brother, you mean no harm to us? Otherwise, why would you attack us? Cheyenne then said, May I know your name, junior brother? Maybe I know you. Su Yu stared at the wooden bird and said casually, Su Yuxian. Surname Su? A hint of surprise and awe flashed across Cheyenne's face. Ding Ping seemed to have realized something as well. His expression changed slightly, and the displeased expression on his face vanished completely. Cheyenne paused, then asked tentatively, Senior Brother Su, are you a student of the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction from the northernmost region? Su Yu was still looking straight at the wooden bird. Placidly, he asked, Why do you think so? Everyone in the world knows that the demonic techniques practiced by the students of the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction are very different from those practiced by other demonic factions. Their demonic energy is pure and incomparably powerful. Junior brother, your demonic energy is very pure, far beyond what I've seen. I suppose you must be from the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction of the Northern Continent, Cheyenne said with a smile. Su Yu raised his brows slightly. Geniuses from other continents were participating too? However, he didn't expect to be mistaken as a student of the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction. The purity of his demonic energy came from the demonic energy he absorbed from the extraterrestrial demons, not from being a student of the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction. Su Yu didn't want to explain too much, so he looked at the woman who had spoken. With a glance, Su Yu realized that the woman named Cheyenne before him was a rare beauty. Su Yu's eyes lit up. The woman had a beautiful face, fair and smooth skin, clear and bright eyes, and a slender and graceful figure. In the Red Blood Palace, apart from Bing Wuxin and Bing Wuqing, it was difficult to find another woman who could rival her. After all, Su Yu had seen many beautiful women, and it was difficult for him to be tempted by any of them. Looking at the wooden birds, Suyu asked, "Are you selling your wooden birds?" "Wooden bird?" Shine was a little surprised, and she looked at Suyu in surprise. Judging from the technique he had just displayed, which had easily neutralized the Chrysanthemum King's attack, his cultivation should be at least at the level of an 8th grade almighty. Could it be that a colossus like the Supreme Heavenly Demon Sect didn't even gift him a decent flying magical treasure? She had no idea that Suyu wasn't from a super faction like the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction, but was merely a student of the Red Blood Palace of the Blessed and Heavenly Lands. In terms of status, the Red Blood Palace was inferior to the Heaven's Craftsman faction. The overall power of the Heaven's Craftsman faction was more than twice that of the Red Blood Palace. "Are you going to sell it or not?" Suyu asked expressionlessly. Shine sighed. It was said that many of the disciples of the Supreme Heavenly Demon Sect were rather arrogant. The man in front of her had only glanced at her once. After some thought, Shine said, "Unfortunately, I can't sell it to you, junior brother." "Why?" Suyu turned his head and asked. He didn't mind seizing it by force. Shine seemed to have read Suyu's mind. She sighed and said, "It's not that I don't want to repay you for saving my life, junior brother. It's just that the wooden birds of the Heaven's Craftsman faction begin to recognize their owners with blood during the crafting stage. Apart from us, no one can control them. If I sell it to you, I'll be deceiving you." "Is that so? What a pity." Since it was useless to him, Suyu wouldn't waste any more time. "Farewell." "Wait!" Shine called out to Suyu hurriedly. "If you need it, it's not that there's no other way. I just need you to come with us to meet the eldest senior brother." Suyu's eyes shone. "Do you think I don't know the secret of the glittering jewel wonderland, that the more challengers you kill, the higher the chance of getting sublimations?" Suyu was certainly unwilling to follow them and meet the eldest senior brother. How could the eldest senior brother of a large faction like the Heaven's Craftsman faction be a simple character? "Junior brother, you must be joking. How would the Heaven's Craftsman faction dare to touch the students of the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction?" Shine laughed bitterly. Suyu rubbed his chin and was lost in thought. In fact, he was secretly communicating with Yunyazi. "Master, can you really modify this flying bird into a void-traveling treasure?" It was Yunyazi's suggestion to save Shine and obtain the wooden bird. "Haha, do you think I'll lie to you? The craftsmanship of this flying bird is pretty good, and the materials used are extraordinary as well. It should be able to withstand the power of the void. It's the best way to save your life," Yunyazi said. The so-called void traveling referred to the ability of all creation's old monsters to tear the void apart and teleport. Under the circumstances where only almighty strong men could participate in the glittering jewel wonderland, wouldn't having the void traveling ability make one invincible? It seemed like Yunyazi was also thinking of ways to give Suyu a chance to save his life for the upcoming 3-9 ordeals. "Why? You can sense the location of your fellow faction members? If I remember correctly, the teleportation of the glittering jewel wonderland is random. Each of the 5 great yards is vast. Even with the sensing jade pendant, you might not be teleported to the vicinity," Suyu said, raising his brows. Shine looked at Suyu strangely and smiled bitterly. "Junior brother, you must be joking. Although the Heaven's Craftsman faction is nothing in the eyes of the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction, we still have some secrets about the secret realm. As long as the same all creation's old monster sends them into the secret realm, the students who are sent will have the same scent. These students can easily sense the other students' sense in the secret realm, and they usually won't be teleported to other yards." "What? She can even control the teleportation range? And sense each other's presence?" Emo Tianxian had never mentioned anything about this secret. Suyu was annoyed. Emo Tianxian. This woman was really playing tricks on him. Being teleported to the yard was probably Emo Tianxuan's doing. Firstly, she wanted to create trouble for Suyu, and secondly, She hoped to eliminate Suyu with the first catastrophe. Suyu gnashed his teeth in hatred. If he ever got the chance, he would teach this reckless woman a good lesson. Ding Ping didn't think that Suyu really didn't know anything. Instead, he thought that Suyu was looking down on them. My 2 senior brothers and I sensed your location, and we're on our way there. We didn't expect to pass through Bao Juhua's territory on the way and be pursued relentlessly. Thanks to your timely intervention, junior brother, Shayin said. Suyu thought to himself. The students of the Heavens Craftsman faction were all sent in by the same person, so they had the same scent and could sense each other's location. So, the students of the Red Blood Palace were all sent in by Mo Tianxian. Logically speaking, Suyu should be able to sense their presence, but after entering, he didn't have the slightest intention of sensing them. Chapter 994. The existence of the brand isolated the sense, causing Suyu to be transported to the garden alone and unable to meet up with the others. In a situation where the disciples of the other factions could meet up, Suyu was alone, and the probability of him being targeted was greatly increased. Although he was angry, Suyu would not show it in front of outsiders. Will your eldest senior brother's flying bird be sold? Suyu asked. Shayin smiled faintly. Since junior brother Su is a disciple of the supreme heavenly demon sect, I'm sure eldest senior brother will be willing to give him some face. He has a few wooden birds that haven't recognized their owners yet. All right, take me to see your eldest senior brother, Suyu said. The 3 of them immediately flew into the sky. The garden was boundless, and they ran into many unfamiliar challengers along the way. However, when they spotted Suyu and the others from afar, they hurriedly avoided them. Of course, they also discovered many corpses along the way. The battle has already begun. Shayin sighed and said, We have to meet up with eldest senior brother as soon as possible. Otherwise, with just the 3 of us, it won't be much of a problem if we encounter a lone challenger. But if we encounter a force that has already assembled, it'll be troublesome. As long as we meet up with eldest senior brother, we'll be safe. Eldest senior brother carries a puppet that's comparable to the first stage of the All Creations realm. Once it's activated, it's almost invincible. Eldest senior brother himself is also a top-notch 9th grade almighty existence, and he can roam the Heavens Craftsman domain. At the mention of eldest senior brother, both Shayin and Ding Ping were full of respect. Half a day later, Shayin gazed into the distance at a hill that was blooming with colorful flowers. She exhaled softly. We're finally here. I can sense the breath of eldest senior brother and a dozen other senior brothers. They're in the belly of the hill. Ding Ping also said, I sensed it too. We're finally safe now. Suyu was the only one who gradually stopped. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at the hill in front of him. Junior brother Su, what's wrong with you? Shayin sensed Suyu's unusual behavior and turned around to ask. Suyu crossed his arms in front of his chest and said calmly, Your eldest senior brother might be in some trouble. Shayin was puzzled. She exchanged a glance with Ding Ping and flew over first, landing at the foot of the hill. At that moment, several hidden figures appeared. Stop. Senior brother Ding and senior sister Sha. Joy and excitement overflowed from his voice. Wei Zhuang, Zhongli, what's going on with the injuries on your bodies? Ding Ping couldn't help but be shocked when he discovered that both of them had injuries of varying degrees. Wei Zhuang's face was covered in blood, and there was an obvious wound on his abdomen. As for Zhongli, he had lost an arm. The strange thing was that there were crystallized fragments in their bodies, including the places where they were injured. Zhongli covered his bleeding arm with a pained expression. We're in trouble. Shayin couldn't help but turn her head to look in Suyu's direction. She was secretly shocked. Could it be that he had cultivated some kind of ocular power that allowed him to see through the hills in advance and discover that her senior brothers were in trouble? When we were waiting for everyone to gather here, we were attacked. 8 of our junior brothers and sisters were killed, and 18 were injured. Even our eldest brother was severely injured and is currently recuperating, said Wei Zhuang. After listening, Shayan's expression changed slightly. Eldest senior brother was also seriously injured? The newcomers must be extremely powerful. Did you manage to annihilate them? Wei Zhuang shook his head. No, the other party is completely unharmed. Upon hearing that, Ding Ping's expression turned grave instantly. If the other party is so powerful, why are you still recuperating at the place where the fight took place? Once the other party returned, wouldn't they be even more seriously injured? Wei Zhuang said, It's not that we didn't want to leave, but our eldest senior brother couldn't move his body. He was trapped in the cave by the other party. Upon hearing that, Shayin was shocked. Eldest senior brother was completely trapped? What kind of force is the other party? How many people are there? Shayin asked. Wei Zhuang hesitated for a moment and said, Only one person, but I don't know which force he is from. One person? Shayin and Ding Ping were both shocked. One person killed 8 challengers of the Heaven's Craftsman faction and injured 18 others. Their eldest senior brother was seriously injured and trapped by the other party. Did our eldest senior brother use that puppet? Shayin asked with a gleam in her eyes. Wei Zhuang said, It was shattered by the other party. Hiss. Upon hearing that, they couldn't help but gasp. The All Creations Stage 1 puppet was shattered by the other party. Then, who on earth was the strong man? Let's go in and see our eldest senior brother, Shayin said hurriedly. The two of them flew into the depths of the cave. The scene in front of them shocked them again. They saw the 18 senior brothers and sisters were all healing on the spot. Their injuries were more serious than Wei Zhuang and Zhang Li's, and there were also signs of crystallization in their wounds. In the deepest part of the cave, there was a crystallized figure with an ordinary appearance and a resolute expression. At this moment, he was gritting his teeth and trying to dissolve something. There was a bowl-sized bloody hole in his chest, from which blood essence kept flowing out. His whole body was covered with crystal chips. Eldest senior brother. Ding Ping's expression changed dramatically, and he hurried over. Don't come over. Suddenly, the eldest senior brother shouted in a deep voice. Ding Ping had already rushed over, and he was only 2 steps away from the eldest senior brother. At this moment, a crystal chip on the eldest senior brother's body suddenly shot out and bombarded Ding Ping. Puff! Ding Ping only had time to use his sword to block, but the sharp bronze sword in his hand was bounced off. Then, the crystal chip penetrated Ding Ping's chest like a piece of paper. Ding Ping flew backward, and an arrow of blood spurted out of his mouth. Among the blood there were crystal chips floating. Bang! With a heavy bombardment, Ding Ping fell to the ground, his face full of pain. Senior brother Ding. Shayin was shocked. She immediately went forward to help him, but was stopped by the crystallized eldest senior brother. Don't touch him. Shayan's palm stopped abruptly, and she asked anxiously, Senior brother, what's going on with these crystals? The eldest senior brother said in a deep voice, The crystals you see are actually plants that reproduce extremely quickly. They're called the grass of crystallization, and they feed on the blood of living creatures. Once they come into contact with blood, they will reproduce rapidly. Therefore, don't touch injured people. The grass of crystallization can spread at any time. The grass of crystallization? Shayin was shocked. Isn't this a spirit herb that has disappeared since time immemorial? How can it still exist now? The eldest senior brother said in a deep voice, It's just that it hasn't appeared since time immemorial, but it's not extinct. An ancient family in the easternmost land has always controlled it. Upon hearing this, Ding Ping and Shayin both cried out in surprise. Senior brother, are you talking about the Great Oriental Family? The Great Oriental Family was a huge family that had produced 2 prefectures kings, and it controlled the entire Great Eastern Land. The Great Oriental Family's name alone was enough to intimidate all heroes. How did you encounter the experts of the Great Oriental Family? Ding Ping swallowed his saliva and suddenly felt that it made sense. If it were the experts of the great Oriental family, it would be normal for the eldest senior brother and the others to be defeated. The eldest senior brother said angrily, "Who knows what's wrong with that woman? She attacked us all of a sudden. Since you're here, protect us. In half a month's time, we'll be able to dissolve the grass of crystallization in our bodies," the eldest senior brother said, changing the subject. Shine nodded and thought for a while. "Senior brother, I've brought an expert with me. He might be able to help us." The eyes of the eldest senior brother and the other 18 brothers lit up. Could it be that Yu Liang has returned? Yu Liang was the expert who ranked second in the Heaven's Craftsman faction. His strength was only below the eldest senior brother. Shine said, "We didn't encounter senior brother Yu, but a disciple of the supreme heavenly demon faction." Everyone's expression changed drastically. One of the disciples with high cultivation even looked angry. "Shine, you're muddle-headed. Which disciple of the supreme heavenly demon faction isn't a bloodthirsty character? Once they know that we're severely injured, how could they let us go? You've invited a wolf into the house." Shine felt wronged and said, "This person has saved Ding Ping and my lives. Judging from his attack, he's not a bloodthirsty person. Besides, I've only brought him here to make a deal with you, senior brother, to purchase the wooden bird." You can't believe a single word spoken by that bunch of demons. Indeed, the people of the supreme heavenly demon faction are cunning by nature. Don't fall for their tricks. Everyone spoke one after another, all of them blaming and grumbling. Right at that moment, a leisurely voice drifted into the cavern. "If I wanted to kill you, would I have waited until now?" Everyone present was shocked. "Be careful, everyone!" Swish, swish, swish. The 18 senior brothers stood up at the same time, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Under the faint sunlight, the silver-faced, white-haired Su Yu entered with his hands clasped behind his back. The fact that he was able to enter so easily meant that the 2 guards at the door had been taken care of. "How dare you barge into the territory of our Heaven's Craftsman faction?" An 8th grade almighty female disciple berated. Su Yu said, "If you have the strength to show off, you might as well recuperate from your injuries. You're courting death." The female disciple yelled. "Senior brothers, let's attack together." They couldn't see through Su Yu's cultivation, but their intuition from years of training told them that Su Yu's cultivation wasn't strong. The 3 disciples, whose injuries were considered stable, suddenly attacked from 3 directions at the same time. Shine wanted to stop them, but it was too late. Su Yu's eyes turned cold. The demonic energy in his chest rolled, and 5 demonic dragons roared out. Several screams of agony could be heard, including the 8th grade almighty female disciple. She spat out blood and flew backward, her injuries more than doubled. This undoubtedly infuriated the rest of the disciples. "How dare you hurt the people of our Heaven's Craftsman faction? Let's attack together." The remaining dozen strong men were about to fly into a rage. All of a sudden, the crystallized eldest senior brother said, "Stop." He was very authoritative. The furious disciples stopped and looked at the eldest senior brother. "Stop, all of you. He's right. If he wanted to kill you, you'd all be dead by now, including you, Ling Zhu." The eldest senior brother looked at the 8th grade almighty woman. In the Heaven's Craftsman faction, Ling Zhu ranked 3rd, second only to Yu Liang, who had yet to return. Many of the disciples were secretly surprised. They had never doubted the eldest senior brother's judgment. Separated by the crystal, the eldest senior brother said in a low voice, "Seems like you're really here to make a deal. You want my wooden bird?" Su Yu nodded. "We can make a deal, but what do you have in exchange?" The eldest senior brother said, "The items made by the Heaven's Craftsman faction involve the level of late-stage almighty, and none of them will be leaked. Once we do that, we'll most likely be punished by the faction's strict rules. If we're lucky, we'll reflect on our mistakes. If we're unlucky, Our cultivations will be destroyed as a warning to others. I won't be an exception. Suyu glanced at Shine. She hadn't mentioned this before. Shine averted her eyes and defended herself. Junior brother Su, I mean no harm. Of course, she didn't dare to mean any harm, but she didn't have good intentions either. She was probably using the name of the supreme heavenly demon faction to ensure her safety along the way and meet up with the eldest senior brother. Suyu looked at the eldest senior brother and said, "Because you're all dying and I can save you, you'll agree. You're being too serious. The grass of crystallization isn't something that can't be resolved," the eldest senior brother said expressionlessly. Suyu sneered. "You can resolve the grass of crystallization, but can you resolve the challengers outside as well? How could the challengers in the surroundings not have noticed the great battle taking place here? In the first 1 or 2 days, perhaps no one would dare to take the risk due to the prestige of the Heaven's Craftsman faction. But as time went on, the situation inside the cave would be more or less deduced. Even if a group of rabble came, they would be in grave danger." The eldest senior brother's pupils constricted. This was what worried him the most. The grass of crystallization wasn't a concern, but the human heart was. "Can you really resolve the grass of crystallization in our bodies?" the eldest senior brother asked. Suyu looked at him and didn't answer. The eldest senior brother was silent for a moment. "All right, if you can resolve the grass of crystallization in all of us, we can make a deal." But Suyu shook his head and said, "No, I'll only resolve it for you." Wouldn't resolving everyone's grass of crystallization be adding to his troubles? Who knew if they would gang up on him? The eldest senior brother pondered for a moment and nodded slowly. "All right. Deal." As long as he resolved the problem, they wouldn't have to stay in the cave and could find another place to recuperate. Suyu walked up to the crystallized eldest senior brother. His right hand, which was behind his back, was slowly rotating with a brilliant silver light of the Milky Way. "You'll be attacked if you come within 30 feet of it," the eldest senior brother reminded him. Suyu nodded and stepped forward. All of a sudden, the crystals on the eldest senior brother's body seemed to react, and one of them immediately shot towards Suyu. Suyu grasped with his right hand and caught the crystal fragment in his palm. When he opened his palm, the crystal had disappeared, leaving behind a grain the size of a sesame seed. It was the seed of the grass of crystallization. The eldest senior brother's pupils constricted fiercely at the scene. Such a method was truly astonishing. Suyu's face was unfazed. He kept approaching, and with every step he took, more crystals shot towards him. But Suyu perfectly resolved all of them. When he reached the eldest senior brother, there were already dozens of seeds in his palm. Then, Suyu placed his palm on the eldest senior brother's body. The crystals on the surface of the eldest senior brother's body rapidly faded away at a speed visible to the naked eye. Finally, not a single trace was left. Meanwhile, there were hundreds of seeds in Suyu's palm. The eldest senior brother was freed. He immediately operated his vital energy to seal the bloody hole in his chest. Because of his weakness, his body couldn't help but sway. Phew! The eldest senior brother let out a long sigh and stared deeply at Suyu. He couldn't help but look at Suyu's right palm. He cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, junior brother Su, for your help." When he finished speaking, he took out a small, delicate bird from his sleeve. Suyu's eyes lit up. He had finally obtained it. After some modification by Yunyazi, it could become a flying treasure that could travel through the void. This would be of great help to Suyu's ability to survive the 39 ordeals. Suyu nodded and reached out to grab the wooden bird. However, at that moment, a strong, sharp green light was aimed directly at Suyu's palm. Suyu had no choice but to dodge and give up on grabbing the wooden bird. Chapter 995. Suyu tiptoed and leaped away from the attack of the green radiance. His starry eyes were cold as a 2-meter-tall burly man with a stocky build stepped into the cave. His feet were steady and powerful. As he stepped on the ground trembled slightly. The gravel and dust bounced around like beans being cooked in a pot. The heartbeats of Su Yu and the others thumped along with the man's footsteps. Powerful physical strength. Su Yu stared. Having faced the all-creation's old monsters several times, the pressure from the burly man's body gave Su Yu a strange sense of oppression. A sense of familiarity washed over him. In terms of physical strength alone, this man was almost invincible among the almighty. Senior Brother Yu, you're back. The challengers in the cave were overjoyed, and their tense expressions eased. Even the eldest senior brother relaxed. He smiled and said, Junior Brother Yu, you're back at the right time. The newcomer was Yu Liang, ranked second in the Heaven's Craftsman faction, a physical practitioner. In terms of physical strength, he was ranked first. The eldest senior brother was only ranked first in terms of comprehensive strength. Yu Liang cast a sidelong glance at Su Yu and strode over. Eldest senior brother, are you all safe and sound? Everyone smiled and nodded. The atmosphere was much more relaxed. After exchanging greetings, Yu Liang's gaze fell on Su Yu. He glared at him and snorted. Is this the guy who took advantage of our misfortune and demanded the puppet of the Heaven's Craftsman faction? Su Yu only chuckled when he heard the blunt words. I guess so. So what? Su Yu glanced at the eldest senior brother. I won't disturb your reunion. Please return the wooden bird that belongs to me, and I'll take my leave. How dare you? The supreme heavenly demon faction is indeed an overlord in the northern continent, but it's nothing in the central prefecture. Get lost now if you know what's good for you. Yu Liang glared at him. The eldest senior brother stroked the wooden bird in his hand for a while, his eyes glinting. After thinking for a moment, he stopped him. Junior brother, don't be rude. Junior brother Su helped me get out of trouble, and the Heaven's Craftsman faction is indebted to him. The wooden bird is a promise, and it should be returned to him. When he finished, he tossed the wooden bird to Su Yu. Su Yu grabbed it and checked it to make sure there were no mistakes. He cupped his fists and said, Farewell. An ominous glint flashed across Yu Liang's eyes. He was about to catch up, but he was stopped by eldest senior brother. Junior brother, wait. Junior martial brother Su, please stay. Su Yu's eyes flickered, and he stopped in his tracks and turned around. Is there anything else? Eldest senior brother said, Thank you for saving me, junior brother Su. I have a piece of news that I would like to share with you. Su Yu's eyes flickered. There was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. This was an unchanging truth since ancient times. Junior brother, you should know that the disaster of flowers is coming. We're deep in the center of the garden, so we'll have to bear the brunt of the disaster. If we don't get out of the garden in time, there's a high chance that we'll be eliminated, eldest senior brother said. The disaster of flowers was the most difficult test of the glittering jewel wonderland. If one could survive it once, they would have the opportunity to obtain sublimations. Once they were eliminated, they would die. Su Yu nodded slowly. So, eldest senior brother smiled and said, We've received news that there's a teleportation portal in the center of the disaster of flowers that connects to the other 4 gardens. If you can use it, you can leave the garden in the shortest time possible. Junior brother Su, are you interested in joining us? There's a teleportation array in the center of the flower disaster? Su Yu thought to himself. Mo Tianxian hadn't mentioned this. This information is absolutely reliable. The source is the Great Oriental Family, an ancient family that has existed for ages. No one can match their exploration of the glittering jewel wonderland, the big senior brother said. Dongfang family? Su Yu's heart shook. This family's name was well known in the Jiuzhou continent, so how could Su Yu not know about it? If the news came from this family, it might be possible. Since Su Yu did not have a shortcut to leave the flower yard, why not give it a try? It was better to believe it was true than not. How many days will it take to reach the center of the garden? Su Yu asked. Eldest senior brother laughed and said, It's not long, only 5 days. Including the day we delayed, it's a total of 6 days. There's still one more day before the outbreak of the first disaster. There's plenty of time. It was worth a try. Sure. Suyu nodded in agreement. However, Suyu knew very well that his opponent did not care about the abilities he had displayed. Yu Liang's abilities should not be any weaker than Suyu's. Hence, there was no need for him to bring along someone he could not trust. There was only one reason why they were willing to go with Suyu. Suyu's identity as a student of the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction. It was not that they wanted to intimidate the other influences. Even though there were many injured members of the Heaven's Craftsman faction, the eldest senior brother had escaped and would only need a few days to recover from his injuries. There were few who could threaten them. Their purpose was to avoid encountering the most troublesome influences of the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction along the way. Since Suyu, a student of the Supreme Heavenly Demon faction, was here, the other students of the faction should be nearby too. Once they encountered each other, if there was no one to talk to, the tyrannical demonic cultivators would draw their swords against them immediately. With Suyu, a familiar face, it would undoubtedly be much better. At least before they arrived at the transmission, Suyu would help them reconcile their relations. Eldest senior brother looked resolute, but in fact, he was experienced. Eldest senior brother, isn't this too hasty? Yu Liang said angrily. Handing over the wooden bird of the faction to an outsider would definitely result in punishment from the faction. Eldest senior brother was indeed doing this to get himself out of trouble, but it did not benefit Yu Liang in the slightest. Of course, he was not happy about it. Junior brother, the journey will be dangerous. Besides, many of you are injured. One more friend is better than one more enemy, the eldest senior brother said with a smile. Yu Liang's expression changed again and again, but in the end, he surprisingly did not object. Suyu's eyes flickered. He realized that when the eldest senior brother was speaking, he had discreetly used vital energy to transmit his voice. Only then did Yu Liang accommodate Suyu. Haha, if that's the case, let's get going now. The eldest senior brother laughed. After packing up, Suyu and the people of the Heaven's Craftsman faction left the cavern on the hill together and headed for the center of the garden. Junior brother Su, don't lower yourself to senior brother Yu's level. He's always been like this, and we can't do anything about it. I hope you won't take it to heart, Shine said in a low voice as she hurried over. Suyu nodded faintly, his expression placid. This woman looked quiet and pure, but she was not a simple person, which was evident from the fact that she had used Suyu to escort her to meet up with her fellow disciples. Shine was not annoyed. She smiled faintly and chatted with Suyu along the way. Eldest senior brother, Shine is your woman. Aren't you afraid of an accident if you let her accompany the boy of the Heavenly Demon faction? Yu Liang shot a glance at Suyu and transmitted his voice to him. The eldest senior brother narrowed his eyes. After several days of recuperation, his injuries had healed a lot. He said placidly, "It's just a woman. It's no big deal even if an accident happens. What I'm most worried about is that boy finding out something midway and leaving. That would be so boring, haha." 5 days later, after passing through the endless sea of flowers, they arrived at a huge city. The city was bustling with noise and bustling with people and carriages. If he had not clearly recognized that he was in the glittering jewel wonderland, Suyu would have thought that he had come to the outside world. He stared at the city in the distance in amazement, and the word garden came into view. TSK, it's just like what that woman from the great Oriental family said. There's another world at the center of the garden, the eldest senior brother said in amazement. Suyu's eyes were filled with vigilance as he sized up the city. After a while, a strange look came over his face. It seems that everyone in the city is a woman. At a glance, be it the guards at the city gate, the shopkeepers of the taverns, or the street performers, all of them were women, though some were old and some were young. Yes, according to what that woman from the great Oriental family said, These women are the flower monsters in the garden who have cultivated to become spirits. They have condensed into human forms and imitate the lives of humans. They were left behind by the glittering jewel mortal fairy in the past. He mentioned the woman from the great Oriental family again, the woman who had wounded them all by herself. Let's go in. These flower monsters have seen many challengers for many years. At the same time, they are restricted by the glittering jewel wonderland, so they won't harm the challengers. The eldest senior brother took the lead and entered. As expected, although they attracted a lot of attention when they entered, they did not do anything excessive. After a while, in the center of the garden, a transportation portal was suspended in midair, emitting bursts of space energy. It's really a transportation portal. Everyone was excited. There was only one day left before the first disaster, the disaster of flowers. They arrived right in front of the transportation portal. If they could be transported to the bookyard, which was the furthest away, the impact of the disaster would be almost negligible. Stop. Challengers are not allowed to enter. From the vicinity of the transportation portal, several extremely cold breaths were suddenly emitted, and the figures of 3 old women flew out rapidly. The old women's aura was soaring. Each of them had the breath of a 9th-grade almighty, comparable to the eldest senior brother. The appearance of the 3 made the challengers feel as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Without the yard master's order, challengers are not allowed to come within 1,000 feet. Otherwise, they will be beheaded according to the law. The old women were murderous, and the demons in the city all revealed their murderous auras. Yard master? Su Yu's eyes flickered slightly. Could they be referring to the owner of the garden? The eldest senior brother cupped his fists and said, "We have no intention of offending you. Please forgive us. We will leave now." When he finished, everyone left the transportation portal under the supervision of the 3 powerful old women. Eldest senior brother, how could there be such terrifying demons in the city? They are almost at the level of human all creations, Ling Zhu said with a heavy heart. The eldest senior brother's eyes were even more solemn. They are not too terrifying. If we force our way in, I am confident that I can hold them off for a while. What is terrifying is the other breath. As he spoke, the eldest senior brother's eyes flickered as he looked at Su Yu. I wonder if junior brother Su has sensed anything. Su Yu said blankly, could there be another expert beside them besides the 3 of them? In fact, how could Su Yu not know? When they arrived near the transportation portal, apart from the 3 old women, there was an even more powerful and terrifying breath that had secretly locked onto them. That was the breath of an all creation's old monster. That must be the yard master of the garden. Hey! He is not even as good as me, how could he have sensed other breaths? Yu Liang said disdainfully. Eldest senior brother, what kind of breath did you sense? Just tell me. The eldest senior brother secretly observed Su Yu's expression for a while, then said in a low voice, there was an all creation's breath just now. What? There was the breath of an all creation's old monster. Everyone's expressions changed drastically. To them, all creation's old monsters were existences that they looked up to. Every move they made could cause them unimaginable harm. If the all creation's old monster was enraged, none of them could escape from the city of the garden. I can't be wrong. The woman from the great Oriental family also said that the yard master of the garden is a daffodil that has cultivated for more than 10,000 years. She has the cultivation of all creations and is the king of all flowers. She was appointed by the glittering jewel mortal fairy to guard the garden, the eldest senior brother said. Everyone was speechless for a long time, falling into silence. This was the center of the garden. If the disaster of flowers came, it would definitely radiate toward the glittering jewel wonderland from here. They had traveled thousands of miles to the source of the disaster of flowers. If they could not leave through the transportation portal, wouldn't they be like moths flying into a flame? As everyone was worrying, the eldest senior brother said, We still have a chance to use the transportation portal. Everyone's expression changed slightly. Eldest senior brother, is there a way to distract the all creation's old monster? Yu Liang asked curiously. As long as the yard master was guarding the city, she could arrive with a single thought and kill all of them. But how could it be easy to distract the all creation's old monster? No. We have another way. The eldest senior brother's eyes flashed as he revealed a mysterious smile. The yard master has a powerful cultivation. It's almost impossible to distract her with just us, the eldest senior brother said. We need to force her to agree. Force the all creation's old monster to agree to use the transportation portal? Everyone was lost in thought. According to the woman from the great Oriental family, the yard master of the garden has 9 beloved granddaughters. Once, a trial taker from the great Oriental family came here by accident. To avoid the impending disaster of flowers, he kidnapped one of the yard master's granddaughters. The yard master loves her so much that she agreed to let him use the transportation portal, the eldest senior brother said with a smile. Such a thing happened? They understood what the eldest senior brother meant. They just had to imitate the trial taker from the great Oriental family. Eldest senior brother, where are the yard master's 9 granddaughters? They must be heavily guarded, right? How should we do it? Yu Liang asked. The eldest senior brother chuckled. Don't worry, I've prepared for it. Among the 9 granddaughters, the yard master dotes on the 9th granddaughter the most. She's also the most mischievous one. She often ditches her entourage and goes sightseeing in the city alone. She was kidnapped by the great Oriental family. We just need to release some rare items that can only be found in the outside world, and we'll definitely be able to attract the 9th granddaughter. Rare items that didn't exist in the glittering jewel wonderland? With a mysterious smile on his face, the eldest senior brother retrieved a golden rope from his space ring. The rope was full of golden bells. When the wind blew, the bells would flutter and emit a crisp, melodious sound like the sound of nature. The spirits passing by turned around and gathered around curiously. They pricked up their ears to listen. It was as if the sound of the bells had a fatal attraction to them. Next, all we have to do is wait patiently. I believe the 9th granddaughter will definitely show up. The eldest senior brother was very confident. The sound of nature from the bells seemed to have a unique appeal to Plant. It attracted the attention of all the floral spirits present. For a moment, the entire street was empty. Su Yu and the others were paying close attention to the floral spirits that were approaching. According to the woman from the great Oriental family, the yard master's 9 granddaughters were different from the others. Each of them had an illusory daffodil blooming on top of their heads. It was unique and very easy to recognize. After waiting for half a day, Su Yu's gaze suddenly became serious. In the crowd, he discovered a petite and exquisite young lady, who looked to be about 18 years old. She was trying her best to squeeze through the crowd, and her face was filled with anxiety. On top of her head, a snow-white and beautiful daffodil was faintly discernible,